Chapter 1142. Hearing his absolutely confident tone, Chu Zijin didn't seem very excited. Instead, she looked at him helplessly, wanting to say something but hesitating. Chen Guang keenly sensed her abnormality and asked, "Why have you become so bashful? Just get straight to the point." Chu Zijin tidied up her shoulder-length hair and sighed. "Alas, I'm sorry. I have to reflect on myself. I've failed to live up to your trust. You trusted me so much, but in the end, you still have to do it yourself." Hearing this, Chen Guang knew what she was thinking. Well, it was his decision to personally intervene in this matter that made her feel even more frustrated. Chen Guang thought for a moment and patted her on the shoulder with a smile. "You worry too much. I'm not blaming you. Also, don't take it to heart just because those 4 stupid sponsors have some opinions. It's already very good for you to have a viewership rating of 0 for your first variety show. You see, there's so many companies and TV stations that do variety shows in the country. Our god of popularity should at least be in the top 5, right?" Chu Zijin said unwillingly, "But our company is different from ordinary companies. A lot of this viewership rating is based on your previous reputation. If we were really just an ordinary company, I'm afraid we wouldn't even have a viewership rating of 0. 5. Compared to our investment, this is a complete failure. But don't ordinary companies use those strange and disgusting methods to create hype? Isn't that right? Since we've chosen to do things openly and have no intention of changing, of course, there's no need to always use our disadvantages to compete with others, right? The current results of God of Popularity can only be said to be average, but it's not as bad as you think. Although it does benefit a little from my reputation, it's not as much as you think. Also, considering the difference in our way of doing things, this program can't be considered a complete failure." Chu Zijin nodded, but immediately shook her head. "Thank you for your comfort, but the program's viewership rating is indeed not satisfactory." Chen Guang shrugged. "There are many people who will do anything for the sake of viewership, but that doesn't include us. Viewership rating is not the only criterion to evaluate the success of a program. What's important is whether we did what we wanted, right? But you've always been successful. But I've never pursued success in terms of ratings and influence. What I want is something else. The viewership ratings are just incidental. Our variety show is the same. Now let me ask you a question. Chu, what kind of show do you want to do? Is it purely based on viewership ratings to judge success or failure?" Chu Zijin thought for a moment and said, "That's not entirely the case. I just want to create a show that can show all the extraordinary people in China. I hope that more people can be like you and challenge more things that ordinary people think are impossible on this show." Chen Guang nodded. "Isn't that enough? I've also seen the comments on the internet. Currently, the public's reputation is polarized. Some people felt that this was a program with a conscience. It was well-produced, not hyped up, and one with quality. However, there is another group of people who felt that the program itself was a bit boring. In terms of articles, it was more like an expository article than a novel, and it made people unable to lift their spirits. In short, those who liked the program would love it to death, and those who didn't would find it extremely annoying." Chu Zijin knew this herself. She sighed and said, "It's like this. I was too idealistic in the first 3 episodes. I thought that I would be like you in the past, showing my best side to the public and attracting everyone's attention." Chen Guang smiled and shook his head. "Then you're thinking too simply. There are many extraordinary people in this world, but no matter what their abilities are, there shouldn't be anyone who can reach my level. If anyone else had said this, they would have been laughed at for boasting shamelessly." However, these words came from Chen Guang, so Chu Zijin felt that it was very natural. "So the first 3 episodes were a failure. But this time, I really learned from my experience. I've also consulted many big shots in the industry. I'm very confident about the next 3 episodes. I guarantee that the program's overall rhythm and effect will be much better than the first 3 episodes." All right. You don't have to give me a military order. I want to be involved in the recording of the next 3 episodes, not because I want to interfere with you, nor because I'm dissatisfied with the program's ratings. I have other motives." Chen Guang simply exposed Chu Zijin's little thoughts. Other motives? You're not making up excuses to comfort me, are you? Chu Zijin tilted her head. That's enough. There's no end to it, is there? Chen Guang was finally angered by her twisty and strange train of thought. He didn't know what was going on in his mind. He suddenly raised his hand and pulled the smaller Chu Zijin in front of him. Then, he lifted his right foot and stepped on the coffee table. Chu Zijin screamed as she was placed on Chen Guang's thigh. Then, with a slap, his big palm heavily pasted on her fleshy buttocks. What? Really, it's so dirty. Such a confident and independent Miss Chu. How did she become such an overcautious and self-blaming idiot after only being a boss for a few days? Yes, I blame you for your incompetence, so I decided to do it myself. Are you satisfied now? Chen Guang glared and shouted angrily. Then, as if he wasn't satisfied, he slapped her again. This time, Chu Zijin didn't cry out. Instead, her face was red, and she moaned and squirmed. It was unknown whether she was struggling or something. To be honest, after Chen Guangjin said this, the invisible pressure that she had been hiding in her heart recently really dissipated by half. Aren't you counting on me to punish you? Then I'm going to punish you now. The 2 slaps just now were to punish you for your incompetence. The 3rd slap was to punish you for being headstrong and self-opinionated. You refused to learn from others and do variety shows properly. You insisted on having mental misophobia. The 4th slap was to punish you for becoming less and less confident. You failed to live up to my expectations of you. The 5th slap was to punish you. I clearly said that I had other motives, but your brain didn't think of asking me what the boss wanted. Instead, you were still immersed in your past failures. The 6th slap. All right, it doesn't have any special meaning. I'm just a little addicted. Chen Guang came back to his senses. Only then did he realize that the 6th slap he was talking about had uncontrollably touched the young lady's buttocks. He hurriedly retracted his hand and put her down. Chu Zijin, whose face was completely red, took a few heavy breaths before she calmed down. Chen Guang thought that she was going to be angry. Unexpectedly, she turned her head shyly, not daring to look at him. She only said in a mosquito-like voice, "Boss, I know I was wrong." Seeing this, Chen Guang was shocked. What kind of situation is this? Could it be that my 5 slaps and 1 touch unknowingly unlocked some kind of special characteristic of the once aloof young lady, who is now a beautiful and down-and-out Miss Chu? It's a sin. Chen Guang hurriedly forced himself to calm down and pretended to be businesslike. Well, regarding your previous problem, I've already punished you. That's it. Now, let's talk about serious business. No matter what, and no matter what the reason is, the result of the current performance is that the first 3 episodes of God of Hymns did not meet our expectations. Your idea is very good. You want to rely on hard power to make a show. However, the result is not satisfactory. Actually, although our publicity is weak, because of me, the show is still well known enough. However, the audience doesn't buy it. Moreover, the reputation of the show is divided into 2 levels. There can only be one explanation. The show's hard power is not enough. It's not that the quality of the show itself is not good enough. It's that if a variety show wants to be popular, it can't be picky with the audience. It has to be suitable for both the young and the old. It has to be able to attract a group of die-hard fans, but it won't make the ordinary variety show audience feel disgusted. Your previous model of program planning did a good job in attracting die-hard fans. However, as you said, there were some problems in the rendering of the show's effect. So now, Chu Zijin asked with a red face, then you still have to go on stage personally and show us how to render the show's effect. Chen Guang shook his head. No, actually, I've never known how to render. Every time I do something, I'll at most build a stage for myself. Then, like clocking into work, I'll stand on the stage and destroy all the people who don't like me and doubt my ability. As for the rest of the show's effects, they're all overinterpreted by the audience and my fans. I've never deliberately pursued these things, and it's the same this time. After Chen Guang finished speaking, he thought for a while and said, I'm not joking with you this time. I really have a purpose. Chu Zijin finally calmed down completely and returned to work mode. She had taught Chen Guang a lesson, and the effect was really good. What purpose? Chen Guang stretched out his right hand and waved it in front of her. I want the whole world to know that I'm the strongest person on this planet. No, it should be the strongest person in the history of this planet. Chu Zijin's reaction was the same as Xiong Er's. She was at a loss at first and didn't even believe it. Although Chen Guang had always been very good at fighting, and he often proved his ability in different fields, it was the first time he had made such a simple and crude request. This was even more straightforward than when he challenged for an Oscar. Just like you want to win an Oscar and be recognized as the best actor in the world? Chen Guang nodded. Yes, but you're so thin. Although I know you're very good at fighting, and you've won the World Arm Wrestling Championship in the past, to be the strongest person in history, that's two. Chu Zijin thought about it and grasped the main point. This is very difficult to prove. It's easy to be stronger than the people who are alive now. Just invite those world champions to do the show. If you can do it, you can challenge a little more and completely surpass their records. But how do you prove that you're stronger than the ancients? Chen Guang patted her on the shoulder. This is what you need to think about. In short, don't think about anything else for the 4th episode. Just challenge the limits of the human body. When the time comes, you can work hard and think of ideas. Things like tearing tigers and leopards, pulling a high-speed rail with your bare hands, is not a problem. Anyway, I can give you a hint. After Chen Guang finished, he tried to think about the data he had measured on the dynamometer in Pierce, North America. Now that so much time had passed, his absolute strength had increased a lot under the double strengthening of the Earth Elemental Arcana and true martial divine art. Counting on his fingers, Chen Guang came up with a number. 3 tons. What? I said, my absolute strength should be at least 3 tons. You just have to do the show according to this number. Are you really going to pull a high-speed rail with your bare hands? It's not impossible if you can talk to the railway headquarters about this. How about this? You try to talk to them first, and if you can't come to an agreement, I'll step in. In short, the show must be done to the best effect. It must be shocking to countless people. When Chen Guang and Chu Zijin were done, he turned around and was about to leave. After taking 2 steps, he thought for a moment, then turned back and said, "Don't worry about the sponsors. I'll think a way." Since he had decided to step in personally, and the thing he wanted to do was so big, it didn't matter who took over now. It would be like sending a pie from the sky. It was good that the previous 4 did not know what was good for them to get out of the way, so that outsiders would not benefit for no reason. Chen Guang's eyes turned, and he had a candidate. Before, he had been working happily with Xun Yuliang and the other second generations. This time, he could guarantee that they would not suffer a loss. As long as they were willing to give him face and come over to take over, he would definitely not treat them badly. Touching his face, Chen Guang felt that the fruit of his face should be enough. After leaving the temporary headquarters of Tianguang Media, Chen Guang had nothing to do anyway. Over there, Big Beer Deng was giving a lecture with several main creative teams at Yenjing University. Although it was called a lecture, the fundamental purpose was to promote the movie. It had been almost a month since the release of Women, but it was still full of momentum. This was simply an unplugged money printing machine. No one would say no to money. At least before the box office was obviously completely exhausted, the promotion couldn't stop. Of course, the name of this lecture was also very domineering. Global Seminar on World-Style Performing Arts. Chen Guang knew about this, but he didn't tell them. Instead, he secretly drove there and gave them a big surprise. Big Beer Deng was almost moved to tears of joy. It was not easy for him. As a movie director, he had done at least 50 roadshows in order to promote the movie, but from beginning to end, he did not get the cooperation of the male lead. Chen Guang's sudden appearance immediately caused an uproar in the crowd, raising the effect of the roadshow by countless levels. Fortunately, this was Yenjing University with a strong academic atmosphere. If this happened in another school, it would be hard to guarantee that the public security would not be in trouble. After that, Chen Guang invited Big Beer Deng and several main creative teams to a belated celebration dinner, which could be considered as a good comfort to everyone's wounded hearts. While eating, everyone talked about the matter of Meizhong Airlines, and they all expressed their support for his choice as a common enemy. However, Chen Guang looked calm, as if it was no big deal and not worth mentioning. In fact, for him now, there was really no big deal other than the statue and faith value. After eating, Chen Guang went to Enrich Club again. This time, he took the initiative to ask Shen Yuliang and the other second-generation members. He was really afraid of Bai Hua's unorthodox way of not giving up on Shen Yu, so he simply called Shen Yuliang alone to avoid Bai Hua. As a result, when he arrived at the Enrich Club, he still had a headache. God knew how well-informed Bai Hua was. He had actually been waiting for him in the private room like a thief. Chapter 1143. If it wasn't for Lin Jingwei's face, Chen Guang would have turned around and left if it wasn't for Lin Jingwei. But he still had to give face to Brother Bai Hua. Facing Brother Bai Hua, Chen Guang couldn't bring himself to lose face. "Brother Bai, why are you here? I didn't want to bother you with such a small matter." Chen Guang chuckled as he sat down. He wouldn't take the initiative to mention Chen Yu's matter. Last time, Chen Yu had ruthlessly and thoroughly rejected him. Although Bai Hua was infatuated, he was no longer a child. He should be able to weigh these things. Bai Hua didn't disappoint Chen Guang. Seeing that Chen Guang didn't want to mention Chen Yu, he didn't harp on it. "I happen to be free today. I heard that your show needs sponsorship. I was afraid that they wouldn't give you face, so I came to join in the fun." Hearing Bai Hua's words, Shen Yuliang didn't agree. "Brother Bai, look at what you're saying. Who dares to not give Brother Guang face? You don't know, but when we heard that Brother Guang's show needs sponsorship, everyone almost fought over it. I say, Brother Guang, you should have looked for us from the beginning. Now you only have 3 episodes left. How is it interesting?" Chen Guang was embarrassed by Shen Yuliang's words. "I've always been indebted to you. I haven't even fulfilled my sponsorship contract. I don't have the face to see anyone. How could I trouble you again?" The high school girl who was in charge of the fashion brand came over. "Brother Guang, you're too modest. You don't know how well our products have been selling. Just like me, I used to only make trendy brands for young people. Recently, I couldn't resist the temptation, so I let the company make a sub-brand for middle-aged and elderly people. Brother Guang, guess what?" Chen Guang asked curiously. "What's wrong?" The little girl said excitedly. "It's selling very well. My mom even asked for 2 sets. If you don't believe me, you can go to the plaza and take a look. There are a lot of aunties wearing the sub-brands that I've endorsed. I forgot to tell you about this, but the people in your company know about it, so I'll let you endorse another clothing brand for the elderly. You won't blame me, right?" Chen Guang didn't know if she was praising him or scolding him. "You make it sound like I'm a friend of middle-aged and elderly women. With this face of mine, if I put it in the mirror, I would be as handsome as a little fresh meat. I think my fan base should probably be younger, but it doesn't matter if it's middle-aged and elderly clothing. Oh, okay. I will promote the children's clothing brand next month." Chen Guang: "Thank you so much for not making baby diapers." However, after chatting with a few of them for a while, Chen Guang knew that the endorsement fee of 150 million yuan that they had spent on him previously was not in vain. Because he knew a lot of things, there would always be something suitable for others. His fan base was very wide, ranging from children a few years old to middle-aged and elderly people who were dozens of years old. One of his endorsements had the same effect as several of others' endorsements, and his image was positive enough. Although he only spent a day to shoot a commercial for them, and the rest of the time he only left a few photos for them to use sparingly, these brothers and sisters really made use of those photos in style and value. Although the endorsement contract they signed was expensive, now it seemed that it was completely worth the price of the ticket. Brother Guang, you don't know this, but now you're practically a household name. I feel that the reputation you've made in the past 6 months is even more resounding than the 10 years of hard work of Jin Shuriwei and Jiang Yage. It's hard to say for other places, but the junior high school students in my brother's school don't even ha-ha-ha anymore. They're now ha-ha-ha. What do you mean by ha-ha-ha? It's a fan of Brother Guang. Are you stupid? Chen Guang didn't believe it at first, until these people showed him the growth of their respective brands in the past few months. This time, he had to believe it even if he didn't want to. He didn't have the self-awareness of a star artist. After taking other people's money, He didn't pay attention to the growth of other people's brands. Only now did he realize that his endorsement was extremely worth it. Ordinary products targeted at ordinary people were fine, but even the sales of heavy industrial machinery, namely excavators and tower cranes, had increased by 30%. Xin Yuliang's online car booking business was soaring. Not only did it stabilize the domestic market, but it also extended its tentacles to other parts of the Asia-Pacific region. These second and third generations, who didn't think so much at first, were simply rushing to give money to Bai Hua and Lin Jingwei. However, they had hitched a ride on Chen Guang's rapid rise in the past 6 months. It could be said that they had picked up a big bargain. It was no wonder that these people reacted so strongly when he and Shen Yuliang had only mentioned it to him. Chen Guang blushed from all the flattery. He pretended to be polite and said, "But this time, my show didn't have a good response. After all, I didn't participate in it before." Shen Yuliang directly said, "Brother Guang, we understand what you're doing. Since you took the initiative to look for us this time, you definitely won't cheat us, right? Will you participate in the next 3 episodes?" Chen Guang nodded. "At least I'll be in the 4th episode. The 5th and 6th episodes haven't been decided yet. As long as you're in the 1st episode, then we won't lose out on our sponsorship. Let's start the bidding now. Whoever offers the highest price will go up. Anyway, it's just 1 title sponsor and 3 special guests. First come, first served." Shen Yuliang waved his hand. Without waiting for Chen Guang's instructions, the group of people spontaneously started bidding on the spot. Looking at the 2nd and 3rd generations in the small private room, clamoring for a project worth tens of millions or even hundreds of millions, it was as lively as buying vegetables in a market. Chen Guang pinched his face and thought to himself, perhaps this old man's face is as good as a black card? While the others were bidding in the private room, Bai Hua suddenly received a call and pulled Chen Guang. "Chen Guang, come here. I have something to say to you." Chen Guang was subconsciously afraid, but seeing Brother Bai Hua's serious expression, he guessed that it wasn't about Chen Yu. He gathered his courage and left the private room with him. "Brother Bai, what's wrong?" Chen Guang asked anxiously. Bai Hua took a deep breath and looked at him deeply. "Chen Guang, I just received news that someone wants to kill you. The bounty should be more than $100 million US. Many assassin organizations around the world are ready to make a move." Chen Guang was stunned at first, but then he laughed. "You can still laugh," Bai Hua said in a slightly reproachful tone. Chen Guang shrugged. "Brother Bai, you know what I'm capable of." Chen Guang couldn't help but be so calm and arrogant in this kind of situation. Let's not talk about whether someone could really put a bullet in his stomach or head. Even if he was shot, so what? The old man could jump off a building and be smashed into meat paste and still come back to life. I can't even commit suicide. If anyone's killer can kill me, I'll really send a plaque to their family. The plaque was written with a big respect. Bai Hua saw that he didn't take it seriously and couldn't help but become anxious. "I know you're the world's #1 martial artist, but assassins have all kinds of strange methods. They can always sneak attack you when you're unprepared. It's better to be safe than sorry. Don't let your guard down." Chen Guang didn't want him to worry too much, so he pretended to be very serious. "That's fine. I'll be careful, but I'm not bragging. Even if I open my hand and let someone shoot at my stomach, I won't die. I really won't die. It's hard for me to die, even if I want to. You're too confident. I can't explain it to you. Maybe one day I can tell you, but you won't understand now." Bai Hua couldn't do anything to him. "Is that so? Okay then. Of course. Thank you, Brother Bai Hua, for telling me about this." Even if he wasn't afraid, Chen Guang was still a little unhappy to know that he was being targeted. The intelligence department just received the news. Originally, the elders wanted to confirm it before informing you. But since we're together, I'll tell you in advance. Right now, we don't know what's going on outside, but for now, we can only confirm that your name has appeared on the dark web. At present, we speculate that there aren't many forces in the world that can offer such a high bounty. According to the analysis of our informants in the dark web, it's possible that it's from both domestic and foreign forces. Chen Guang nodded and began to calculate in his mind. Strictly speaking, although he didn't have many enemies, he definitely had some. Just in China, Zheng He and Song Mingyuan who represented the Tianshan Water Group, were one of them. As for overseas, American Airlines, which he had just offended, was also a possibility. On the surface, they couldn't win against him, but American Airlines and the Schultz family had suffered heavy losses. It was hard to guarantee that they wouldn't do such a risky thing. On one hand, they could vent their anger, and on the other hand, they could kill one to warn others. If he acted too tough, American Airlines couldn't do anything about it. But if he was assassinated, although there would never be evidence to prove it, people would always associate it with them. As long as there was no evidence, it was a good thing for others to associate it with them. In the future, if others wanted to find trouble with him like he did, they would have to think twice. Although US dollars were good, they needed to be alive to spend it, right? There was also Sanshin Corporation, who had excluded him because of the photo catalyst incident and the Japanese consortium. Out of consideration of interests, being excluded by him could cause them to lose hundreds of billions of US dollars in the photo catalyst market. In the face of such a major potential loss, it was possible that they would make such a drastic decision. As the two were chatting, Chen Guang's phone suddenly rang. He picked it up and saw that it was Jiang Ye's grandfather. After the call was connected, as expected, Grandpa Jiang and Bai Hua were talking about the same thing. Xiao Chun, you don't have to worry. China has never been a fertile land for those who make trouble internationally. If they dare to come, we dare to deal with them. Right now, our top priority is to find out who is behind the scenes as soon as possible. We can only try to guess the source of the bounty on the dark web and try to negotiate with the other party. As long as we can make the other party realize that even if there is no evidence, they will have to pay a more painful price, and it is possible to cancel the bounty. Chen Guang nodded. Grandpa Jiang, I have a few candidates. Tell me, I'm listening. Hence, Chen Guang told him about his guesses. The old man on the other side nodded. Okay, let's have a plan first, then we'll talk. But your security, Chen Guang refused. I don't need to worry about my own security, but I have another request. No matter what, you must ensure the safety of my family and friends. If you don't have enough manpower, you want to borrow people from the Guangding General Headquarters, right? I know, you're really strange. Even if you're not the director, those martial artists still only recognize you. Chen Guang smiled. I didn't give them magic potion, but since ancient times, people in the martial world have never been interested in the affairs of the court. Although they're willing to submit to the Guangding General Headquarters, they are still people in the martial world. Yes, you're right. If I knew this would happen, I would have begged you to stay. Then forget about it. Hearing that Grandpa Jiang was trying to pull him back, Chen Guang quickly refused. Let's talk about the bounty. Anyway, no matter what, I can't let anything happen to my family. If we really can't come to an agreement, and I really can't find any clues, then I may turn the tables. Chen Guang gave Grandpa Jiang a warning. Now that he was no longer the Wu of the past, once he said that he would turn the tables, it meant that he would take the initiative to make a move, and he was afraid that the waves would not be small. I understand. You want to get rid of evil and cut the weeds at the roots, right? But there's a limit to this. You have to control yourself. Don't become like Ouyang Tianqing. Don't forget what you've said before. Chen Guang nodded. I won't forget. I promise that I will kill a good person. I have a special technique that can make people reveal the truth, just like Schultz in the video. I can guarantee that nothing will go wrong. Grandpa Jiang's interest was aroused. I also wanted to ask you about this. What kind of technique is that? It is more effective than the truth serum. It is simply amazing. Anyway, you're the chief instructor in Shunned. When are you going to open another class and impart your interrogation technique? Chen Guang quickly refused. Forget it. I can't teach this technique. What a joke. An elite of the martial sage realm like him would be exhausted after using the soul-snatching skill once. Even if it was a skin-strength martial artist, he was afraid that before the skill took effect, he would first become a corpse. In this world, apart from him, no one could withstand the consumption of the soul-snatching skill. Chen Guang sat in the Inua Club for another half an hour. Shun Yuliang and the others were extremely efficient. After a round of fierce bidding, there were only 3 episodes left of Hi, My God! Sponsorship. The total price was more than 250 million yuan, which was snatched by this group of people. This made Guang feel a little embarrassed. Since he had been given a favor, his words were soft, and he was too straightforward in owing him a favor. This created pressure on him. No matter what, the fourth episode had to be explosive. Otherwise, he would be letting them down. Just as Guang was done, Chu Zijin, who was still at the headquarters of Tianguang Media, received a call. She was also shocked. In the past, when she came forward to talk about sponsors, she had to grumble and slap the table at the negotiating table. Both sides would often argue over a small profit. Every sponsorship, no matter how big or small, would take at least a few days to fine-tune the various details of the contract between the two sides. In the end, they would go through a lot of trouble to find common ground and put aside their differences. Finally, they would reach a clause that everyone felt was acceptable, but no one felt that they had earned anything. Just like the 4 sponsors that Chu Zijin had signed before. For the 160 million yuan, she had negotiated with many people. In the end, she still left a clause that was disadvantageous to her side, which was the clause that the sponsors could interfere with the program planning. Guang, on the other hand, settled it with just a few words. When she received a call from the person in charge of the 4 sponsors, whose total price had reached 250 million yuan and who would only sponsor the next 3 episodes, Chu Zijin did not react. Chu Zijin asked, "May I ask what specific requirements your company has?" The company replied, "No. Hey, no. It's Brother Guang's program. What requirements can we have? In short, just remember not to make a mistake with our logo. Our company will send someone to discuss the details tomorrow. You can write the contract and whatnot. Anyway, Brother Guang can't cheat me." The company replied, "What requirements can we have? Brother Guang has the final say." The company replied, "I only have one requirement. Please provide us your account number as soon as possible. We need to pay as soon as possible." "Well, that's right. There's no need to sign the contract. Just pay first." The company replied, "Don't ask me for any suggestions on the program planning. I don't understand these things. Hey, yes, if there's anything you need us to cooperate with on the program, just let me know. I have some connections at the railway headquarters." After hanging up the phone, Chu Zijin could not calm down for a long time. All along, other than when facing Guang, she had always been an invincible genius girl in other people's eyes. But it was really infuriating to compare with others. Compared to Guang, she was like an immature student. Just like this time, she thought that she could show off her abilities in front of him. Most importantly, she could prove her ability in front of him. Now, she had done it half-heartedly and even let him see her embarrassing side. Then he personally made a move, and the program sponsorship that had already collapsed instantly took a turn for the better in a few moves. Chu Zijin felt that she would forever be like everyone else, living in his shadow. But this could not be considered a shadow. She just always saw that there were people in this world who were so much better than her. Her heart was unwilling, but at the same time, she admired him. It was exceptionally complicated. Guang did not care about what Chu Zijin was thinking at this time. Instead, he focused on what the old man and brother Bai Hua had told him. He was afraid that Xianqin and Wu Miaowan from the Guangding headquarters did not know the inside story and did not give face to the old man. So, he called Xianqin first and explained the situation. Unexpectedly, before he could explain things clearly, Xianqin had already exploded on the other side. "Don't worry, I'm going out now. I'll call a few elders to ensure the safety of Uncle and Annie." "Hey, wait a minute, I can't wait. I've already set off. Oh, by the way, recently, the special communication equipment provided by the military has gradually been popularized in the Bureau. Just now, I sent out the highest level of alert. Now, the thousands of people in the Bureau should have received the news." Guang was a little speechless. He did not want to make such a big scene. On the other side, Xianqin pulled out her crisp Lolita voice and said, "I want to see what kind of organization has the guts to dare to target the family of our Wulin's leader. This is turning the sky upside down. Big Chrysanthemum leader, don't worry, all of your family and friends are guaranteed to be at least bone strength experts. Hey, wait, it seems that this deputy director is also your woman? Oh, then I have to bring along 2 naughty elders myself." Chen Guang was speechless. After not seeing Xianqin for a while, this little Lolita's official prestige had become a little too big. Also, wasn't I the former chrysanthemum leader of the Guangding headquarters? Old director, what did I give myself the title of Wulin's leader? Chapter 1144. A brief moment later, Chen Guang received another call from Wu Shan, informing him that the old man had already given out the mission. After listening to Wu Shan's overall arrangements, Chen Guang was completely relieved. The elders had given him enough face. Well, they might have been afraid of Chen Guang's so-called initiative. In short, they had come up with a whole set of operations specifically for this incident. The names they had come up with were particularly domineering and cool. Operation Glorious Shield. When he heard the name, Chen Guang's face turned red. I'm ashamed to face my ancestors. My Chen family has kept a low profile for several generations. Why am I such a weirdo in my generation? I can't keep a low profile anymore. According to the Glorious Shields plan, nearly 1,000 elite soldiers from the nation's major military regions will be transferred to participate in this operation. Every single one of these soldiers could be considered the elite of the elite. They were not inferior to the special forces led by Shuo Lin. Of course, the main force of the entire Glorious Shield was not these people. Instead, it was the extremely rare members of the Guangding General Headquarters who had taken the initiative to cooperate with the military. Xianqin ran quickly, leaving the bitter Wu Miaowan in the Guangding General Headquarters. Wu Miaowan cursed Xianqin for her indiscretions and seizing the opportunity to get close to Chen Guang's parents. At the same time, she had to urgently call for a conference call to explain the current situation of their old leader, the publicly acknowledged leader of the martial arts world, Chen Guang, to the others. Initially, Xiao Miaowan was worried that these unruly leaders of the major sects would not do their best to help. She did not expect them to almost fight over the quota in the conference call. Dai Quan, the leader of the Xinxing sect, was unwilling to pass on the responsibility. Since ancient times, the Xinxing sect has been an expert in escorting and protecting goods. Whether it's guarding the home or guarding against criminals, we are all experts. Deputy Director Wu, you don't have to say anything. Leave the important task of protecting the director's parents to me. Wu Miaowan was particularly embarrassed. Deputy Director Xian has already brought her 1,000 Despair sect's experts to protect the sect. There are also 2 seniors at the peak of Pai Jin with them. There are no more traps over there. Dai Quan said anxiously. Then it's the director's grandparents. All right. Sect leader Dai, your Xinxing sect is good at footwork, but when it comes to life and death, our 7 stars formation is more reliable. Don't say anything. All 49 inner sect disciples of our Green Mountain sect are here, and there are 7 sword formations of 7 stars. All the immediate family members of the director of the Green Mountain sect are ours. Dai Quan cursed, get lost, you old scum. However, another loud and clear voice came from the special communicator. Be quiet. Panda, the boxing tyrant, haven't spoken yet. I'm sorry, but my 18 Arhats are already on their way. We're close to the director's hometown. Everyone, let's get there first. Dai Quan, the sect master of the Green Mountain Sword sect, and the others cursed him. Despicable. Shameless. You're a dog in a manger. At this time, the voice of plainclothes sect's Taoist Song Song came from inside. I'm really sorry. Recently, I've brought many inner disciples to Lalai County's Immortal Crane Temple to visit friends. I'm now at the ground floor of the Chief Bureau's maternal grandparents' house. In fact, I just went to the door of the Chief Bureau's house. Vice Bureau Master Xian is still on her way, so I asked my eldest disciple to watch over her. Damn it, you bastard, you shameless old ox-nose. You said you were going to the Immortal Crane Temple last month. Why haven't you left yet? Are you staying in Lalai County? You old fart. The shameless behavior of Taoist Song Song drew likes from all directions. I'm sorry, but the sect master May of our Flower Rose sect is by Madame Zhua's side. She has been protecting Madame Zhua for many days. Of course, I'm the acting sect master, so if the Chief Bureau is in trouble, I won't shirk my responsibility. Our Flower Rose sect has many female disciples, so it's my duty to be the bodyguards of the Chief Bureau's female relatives. I'm sorry, I have something to say. My May temple is full of nuns as well. Bah, you're an old nun who talks about the Buddha. Don't tell me you're going to escort her to the temple to become a monk. It's better than you guys tricking her into acting and selling her body. Wu Miaowan's ears were hurting from all the quarreling seniors in the communication device. She had no choice but to use her authority as the vice bureau chief. Seniors, stop making noise. Please listen to me. She used to address herself as a junior in front of these seniors, but this time she had no choice but to state her identity first. She was afraid that she would not be able to control the situation. Panda, who wanted to be the most unruly, saw that Taoist Song Song had beaten him to it, so he decisively put the blame on himself. That's right. We'll listen to Vice Bureau Chief Wu. We can't break the rules just to curry favor with the Chief Bureau Chief. We're not completely Jianghu people now. We're public servants in the system, so we have to follow the rules. Old Baldy, for example, is now a deputy director-level cadre. That's right. I, the Vice Bureau Chief, have something to say. That's great. The Vice Bureau Chief likes it. Panda's words won everyone's approval. With that, the situation was finally brought under control. Wu Miaowan had to rack her brains for a long time before she managed to come up with a comprehensive plan based on the strengths of the various sects, the realms of the experts sent by each sect, and a relationship between everyone related to Chunguang that was listed in the Radiant Shield's operation plan. Wu Miaowan was exhausted by the time she was done. Not enough manpower? What a joke. After the Poison Sect, Dark Sect, and other evil sects were eliminated, the newly selected 8 major sects and 27 sects sent out almost all their elites. There is no such thing as a shortage of manpower. If not for such a large-scale operation, Wu Miaowan would not have known that these major sects were so well equipped. Perhaps there were only so many top-notch experts on the surface, but core disciples at the early stage of Skin Force, or the peak of Bone Force, were a dime a dozen. After assigning the tasks, Wu Miaowan was truly at a loss. She could not help but secretly contact Fist King Panda's signal. Master Pan, what's up with you guys? Has everyone been very free lately? On the other side, Panda rubbed his big bald head. Deputy Bureau Chief Wu, don't you know? Wu Miaowan looked confused. What's going on? What did Big Chrysanthemum do this time? Sect leader May of Chrysanthemum Flower Sect has broken through the peak of Skin Force and reached the peak of Chrysanthemum Flower Sect, the paper folding realm. Wu Miaowan was shocked. Oh my god, this is great news. Sect leader May should hold a martial arts gathering to celebrate. Panda smacked his lips. Hasn't sect leader May been overseas recently to be the chief's old flame? Puffed to be the chief's teacher's bodyguard? How could she have the time to come back? The martial arts gathering must be held. It's been 300 years since Chrysanthemum Flower Sect has a paper folding elite. This is indeed a joyous occasion, but we don't have the time now. We'll hold it in the future. When did this happen? Just a few days ago. Just a few days ago? Wu Miaowan looked confused. Of course she knew about Aunt May of Chrysanthemum Flower Sect. She had been stuck at the peak of Skin Force for at least 20 to 30 years. How did she break through just like that? That's right. According to sect leader May, in order to express his gratitude to her for protecting teacher Zhua, the director general specially spent half a day to give her some pointers. At that time, she felt something in her heart. She felt as if the fog in her heart had been pushed aside, and she could see the light. She just had to cultivate outside teacher Zhua's lab for a few days, and then everything would be fine. I thought you would know about it, Deputy Bureau Chief Wu. After all, we all know that you're also the chief's old flame, puffed confidant. That's right, confidant. So that's how it is. Wu Miaowan came to a sudden realization. No wonder these seniors of the pugilistic world were all crazy and full of energy. If anyone else saw Aunt May break through like this, how could they not be envious? But they were not that close to Chunguang. The pointers of an elite might seem simple, but the other party cared more about their mood. A conversation with an elite was better than 10 years of studying. Such benefits were hard to buy, but they were not related and the chief was not in the office. He was busy all day, so how could they disturb him so easily? Perhaps they were worried that they would not have the chance to ask the chief for help. Now, they should learn from sect leader May and do him a favor. Sooner or later, they would have the chance to beg him. Compared to the possible benefits, what was a period of hard labor for someone's house guard? That was an opportunity, not a hard labor. Wu Miaoan was furious. In order to trick the great demon leader into teaching her a few moves, she had almost stripped naked and jumped in front of him to stick out her butt. But in the end, this guy never did anything right and never gave her any benefits. She only became a guard for your lover for a few days, and you're so biased? You gave her pointers to break through skin force? You heartless bastard. I'm your lover. You can't do this. Ahaha. So that's how it is. I know that. The chief used to give me pointers often, but how can people compare? Sect leader May has been at the peak of skin force for many years and should be ready to break through. I'm still young. There's no rush. All right, Deputy Chief Wu, I'll get back to work now. All right, Master Pan, go ahead. Thank you for answering my questions. After hanging up, Wu Miaoan became angrier the more she thought about it. But not long after, she felt that it was ridiculous and burst out laughing. Chen Guang had actually helped her and her lover before, much more than he had helped others. He did not favor one and discriminate against the other. But just like what he had said, how could people compare with each other? In the path of martial arts, although pointers from experts could enlighten people, it was more important to rely on oneself to cultivate. If one's realm was not up to par, no amount of pointers would be of use. Unfortunately, if Master was still alive, perhaps he could have become an expert of the next realm under his pointers, just like Aunt May from the Flower sect. But the dead could not be resurrected. No matter how much regret there was, it could only be repaid in the next life. Now that she and her lover had taken over the sect, they would definitely be able to carry it forward. With that in mind, Wu Miaoan sent Chen Guang all the aspects of the Glorious Shields operation plan that the General Directorate of Light was in charge of. Yes, she sent a QQ offline file. Chapter 1145. After reading it, Chen Guang felt that he owed a huge debt of gratitude. Other than gratitude, there was only shame. In fact, since a few months ago, after Chen Guang became the director of the Guangding General Administration, secret guards have been placed around his core family members. Chen Guang was well aware of this, but he didn't think it was surveillance. He had always been upright and honest, so he wasn't afraid of surveillance. In addition, if the elders really wanted to prevent him from harboring any evil intentions, this surveillance wouldn't be able to prevent it. For a person of his level and ability, if he wanted to do some evil tricks, no amount of surveillance would be able to stop him. But if his real pursuit was in other aspects, and he didn't have any shameful intentions, then these secret guards couldn't be called surveillance at all. It could even be said that because of his past and present identity, they spent the country's resources to match him with public resources. Modern warfare, to put it bluntly, was a battle of money. Every time an elite warrior was trained, especially an elite agent who could take on security missions, the cost was extremely high. If the weight of a $100 bill was to be measured, it would even exceed the weight of the warrior himself. The warriors who were previously arranged to be Chen Guang's core family members could be called walking RMB in a sense. Although the elite warriors ate the royal rations were also money, and so were the army's pay. The security of these people was something that ordinary people couldn't enjoy or even imagine in their lifetime. But Chen Guang deserved it. Based on what he had done in the past, it was worthy of such attention. But regarding the internal force martial artists, if it wasn't for his sudden appearance, the internal force martial artists would still be a great threat to the country, not to mention working together and supporting each other. But Chen Guang was a thin-skinned person, and he didn't like to take credit for himself. He didn't even realize in his heart that what he had done was a great deed that would last for thousands of years. He always felt that he only did what he should do within the scope of his ability. He didn't like to be an official. Otherwise, the other 99 people in the 100-people plan that Lin Jingwei mentioned might be able to compete with him. Therefore, he didn't need any conspiracy at all. as long as he wanted to and was willing to change himself. The elders in Yinjing might be even more eager to hand over the power to him. Just as Lin Jingwei had said, although there was a clan to govern a country, it also needed capable people. Chen Guang himself was that capable person that no one could ignore. Although he had relinquished power, the credit was still there. With the photo catalyst as an example, it proved that he would do more things in the future. He was still constantly creating miracles. Spending public resources on him would always be a profit and never a loss. Chen Guang made a few more calls to his family. Since things had already come to this, he couldn't hide it from them. Letting them know would also help them be more vigilant. After being busy for most of the night, he finally settled down. In fact, he also wanted to find out who put up the bounty. He even called Chu Zijin, who was still asleep. However, the bounty on the deep web was completely hidden. From the release of the task to the acceptance of the task, it was both anonymous. The deep web's own defense system also gathered the wisdom of countless underground hackers around the world. Even someone as strong as Chu Zijin couldn't do anything to the deep web. At most, she could only be regarded as one of the top 10 hackers in the world, not the first in the world. The deep web structure was very loose, and it had the help of a top hacker team. Moreover, even if it was breached, if the database of others was originally that kind of two-way anonymous information, it could only serve as a bridge between the release of tasks and the acceptance of tasks. It was impossible to get any substantive information from it. Governments around the world had worked hard for more than 10 years to conquer the deep web, but there was no practical effect. In desperation, Chen Guang could only let it go. Although he had a few general areas, it was impossible for him to personally interrogate them one by one, right? He would deal with it when it came. In the next few days, Chen Guang didn't return to the 5 capitals. Instead, he stayed in Yinjing and waited for the high. My God! Specific planning progress of the 4th episode. Considering his personal needs, this time Chu Zijin also tried to figure out Chen Guang's previous style of doing things, and then followed his standard of 3 tons of absolute strength. In addition, since it was a variety show, it couldn't just be him. He had to invite some well-known and competitive strongmen to participate in the competition, of course, including the Olympic champion. With others as a foil, he could show his strength. However, the Olympic champion of the national team would not easily participate in some variety shows, and he couldn't easily disrupt other people's training plans. If it was only Chu Zijin who went to invite people, she might not be able to do it. At this time, it was Chen Guang himself who had to do it. It was also beneficial for him to stay in Yinjing. In addition, in the past few days, he had dragged Big Beard Deng to participate in several promotional activities to promote women, including being interviewed by well-known overseas talk shows. Usually, Conan wouldn't go to places outside of the United States to do shows, but if the guest of the show was Chen Guang, there would be no such thing. In fact, a long time ago, when Chen Guang was still in Los Angeles, Conan had taken the initiative to contact Chen Guang more than once, hoping to do an interview for him. Unfortunately, even when Chen Guang returned to China, he couldn't get a slot. After all, in Chen Guang's opinion, time was more valuable than money. When he needed popularity, he could take the initiative to pay for an interview with UBC. When he didn't need popularity, it became someone else who needed him. Then, sorry, I'm busy. This time, Conan also heard from a friend that Chen Guang would have a few days to cooperate with the promotional plan of women. So he took the initiative to contact Big Beard Deng and directly ran to Yinjing to meet Chen Guang. Chen Guang talked for an hour with this popular talk show host in the United States for many years, and he regretted not taking the initiative to go on a show. The reason was that this guy was really good with words. Not only did he help him complete the promotional work for women, but he also took the initiative to bring the topic to American Airlines. The interview went like this. Mr. Chen, I heard that you still don't have any intention of reconciling with American Airlines, and the day of you going to court is getting closer. Now, American Airlines is trying to use the interference of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to let your visa expire so that you can't go to court. What do you think of this? Is that so? Everyone knows that I'm law-abiding in the United States, and I have no bad records. If your country's federal government supports American Airlines' dirty tricks, then the most angry and anxious people in the United States shouldn't be me, but the people of color in the United States. I'm sure everyone knows what this means, right? As far as I know, there's almost no racial discrimination in China. Why would you focus on this, Mr. Chun? It's impossible for discrimination to happen to you, right? Chun Guang smiled and shook his head. No, I've encountered it this time. American Airlines has taught me a very profound lesson. I oppose all discrimination. No one can choose the family they are born into, and they can't choose the color of their skin. A person might be discriminated against because of his laziness or his moral character, but it shouldn't be because of his appearance, skin color, or even what he wears. A white man in a suit and tie isn't necessarily noble, and a black man in shorts isn't necessarily inferior. So, you'd rather give up the extremely generous private compensation and choose to go to court? According to our investigation, Baker Law Firm has filed a total of 157 charges against American Airlines and the Los Angeles Police Department. Yes, they must apologize, not only to me, but also to all the people who have been discriminated against by them. When the police officer named Jack pulled out his gun, there was no room for reconciliation. Conan asked again, Schultz may be sentenced to life in prison. What do you think of this? He asked for it. Crimes can't be covered by dollars. Of course, rich people should be punished for their crimes. Why? Isn't hiring someone to kill someone sentenced to death in your country? That's really regrettable. But he's facing more than 200 years in prison, and he can't be released on bail. That's good. Then, Mr. Chun, what else do you want to say to American Airlines now? Chun Guang turned his head to look at the camera, thinking of his big name on the dark web. A reward of $100 million US? He grinned. There's a famous saying in China. We don't advocate war, but we're never afraid of war. You're on your own. Conan's interview would be broadcast on ABC this weekend, during prime time. The senior executives of American Airlines would definitely be able to see it. Chun Guang didn't care whether they were behind it or not. Anyway, he had to say it first. If it was them, they should be able to feel something when they saw his statement. If it wasn't them, it didn't matter. Anyway, other people would definitely be able to see it. Now that he was a tall tree that attracted the wind and couldn't keep a low profile, he had to let all the people and forces who coveted him know that a tiger's but couldn't be touched. Of course, in addition to being busy with these miscellaneous things, Chun Guang didn't idle around these days. He carried a big backpack with him, which was filled with his professional course materials for this semester. He also brought his laptop with him, which was filled with revision courseware that Sun Xiaoxuan had carefully prepared for him. Others might not believe that such a person would actually care so much about the university's final exam. Moreover, he didn't plan to cheat, nor did he plan to use any special conditions to directly get himself the green light for all subjects. People who didn't know him well would call him stupid and say that he was bored out of his mind. However, he didn't think too much about it. He just felt that since he had boasted back then, his words had to count. Therefore, he had to take the test. Unfortunately, he couldn't save any faith points now. Otherwise, he could still use the customized special cup training to force his way through like last semester. Now that mortgage loans were as fierce as a tiger, he had to rely on himself. After a full 7 days, everything looked calm and peaceful. With the cooperation of dozens of employees from Tianguang Media, the 4th episode of God of Happiness, which had the strongest body in human history, officially began recording. Chapter 1146. Sitting in the same bus as Chu Zijin, Chun Guang realized that he was not at ease. He had forgotten one thing when he told Bai Hua that he was not afraid of thieves. Now that he was sitting in the same bus as Chu Zijin, he realized that this was a very serious problem. He was not afraid of death, but others were. Just like now, if the assassin hired by the other party took out a big gun and shot at the whole bus. If he discovered it in advance, it would be fine. He could fly out and catch the bomb with his bare hands. But what if he dozed off and failed to defend himself? In the same way, what if a remote control bomb was hidden under the road while they were driving? If he could stay on high alert for 24 hours, he could indeed predict this kind of danger in advance. But that was impossible. People tend to be distracted. What if they exploded in the moment of distraction? He could resurrect himself, but what about the others? This problem was not serious a few days ago. But just before he left this morning, he suddenly received a notice from the shunned special training camp that a group of people had sneaked into the country yesterday. In addition, there were several organizations that had been under surveillance abroad that had their members acting strangely. Although they could not track them in time, it was very likely that they had come to China because of the $100 million bounty. A few days after the dark web bounty was released, the $100 million bounty was like a stone thrown into a lake. It gradually began to cause waves. This meant that his peaceful life was about to be broken. It meant that the danger of staying on the dark web could suddenly become a real danger at some point in time. Chen Guang, what's wrong? You seem to be very nervous from the moment you got on the bus. Chu Zijin, who was sitting beside him, keenly noticed his abnormality and asked, I'm fine. At least I'm fine now. Chen Guang rubbed his brows. He was not lying to Chu Zijin. At least before he let his guard down, nothing would happen. Oh, seeing that he was not willing to say, Chu Zijin did not press him. Chen Guang silently turned his face out of the window. Beside the bus was an old Huaxia military off-road vehicle, which also belonged to Tianguang Media's fleet. Chen Guang recognized the people sitting in the back of the vehicle. They were two sect experts who were originally stationed near Yanjing. Chu Zijin was also one of the candidates on the list of the Glorious Shield. In fact, these two experts had already snuck into the program a few days ago and secretly followed Chu Zijin. Separated by 2 layers of glass, Chen Guang exchanged glances with the 2 experts in the back seat of the car and then nodded slightly. Forget it. I'll let them record first when I get there. I'll go back to the recording studio when I have my own scenes. Xiao Chu, help me find a car in Langfang County. I will drive myself. I won't be going with you. Chen Guang thought to himself, rather than sitting in the same car with someone else and being scared and not wanting to implicate them, it would be more comfortable to drive alone. All right. Although Chu Zijin didn't understand his intentions, her personality was like this. She never asked questions that she shouldn't ask. Chen Guang closed his eyes and pretended to sleep again. It had only been a few days, but he deeply understood how painful it was to be remembered by others. Sigh, I'm still a little too confident. I'm not strong enough to create my own world with my thoughts. Before this matter is over, I have to live as a loner. The group arrived at the filming location. Because of Chen Guang's sudden strange request, Chu Zijin had no choice but to adjust the recording plan at the last minute. She first recorded everyone else's scenes, then planned the scenes that required Chen Guang's appearance together, and settled it all at once. Because of this, Chen Guang didn't dare to stay in the same hotel as others. Instead, he found another small hotel with few people. While the other side was recording, he didn't go far. Instead, he watched from a distance of 300 to 400 meters like a thief. He was really annoyed by this, and the more he thought about it, the angrier he got. Forget it. When this matter is over, I might as well take the initiative. This kind of passive feeling is really terrible. Clenching his fists, Chen Guang repeated the names of the candidates in his heart. At most, I'll just waste a little more effort. I'll personally bestow the soul-snatching art on all of you, and all you have to do is answer me. I've already reminded you. It's you who are stubborn. Then don't blame me for bullying ordinary people because I have a golden finger. Gnashing his teeth, Chen Guang was annoyed by Su Tao's words. Chu Zijin thought that he was probably sick. Something must have gone wrong in his brain. Why did he hide so far away for no reason? Chen Guang wanted to tell her that he could be under the watch of the killer at any time. He even wanted to tell her that 2 of the newly recruited workers in the film crew were rare internal strength masters that ordinary people dreamed of. But he didn't say it in the end. It wasn't that he was selfish, but that the target of the killer was only him. Whether he told Chu Zijin or not, nothing would change. If he told her, it would only make her uneasy for no reason, and there would be no benefit. When they were in danger because of him, it was also when he was with them. The situation seemed to be very dangerous. But in fact, if he kept a high level of vigilance, there was nothing to be afraid of. Now that he was extremely relaxed, It seemed dangerous, but in fact, nothing happened. Probably in a sense, Chen Guang might be the first weirdo in the history of the world who was worried about the safety of others because he was targeted by the killer. The first day of filming passed without any surprises or mishaps. They mainly recorded the various challenges of other strongmen in the corridors, such as pulling a truck with one hand, lifting a car with one arm, carrying several adult men in a tug-of-war, and so on. These were the common methods of some ordinary Guinness programs or Hercules programs, and there was nothing special about them. If they only relied on these scenes, the fate of this program would basically be no different from the fate of the previous 3 episodes. Even the other people who were recording the program with them were not very optimistic. If it weren't for the fact that the person who invited them was Chen Guang, that the task was directly arranged by the higher-ups, and that they had the opportunity to compete with Chen Guang, these top strong men from all over the world and the Olympic champions of the Chinese weightlifting team would not have come participate in this program. But after a whole day of recording, except for the bus that Chen Guang took on the way here, the guests did not see anyone else. Not only that, but even the recording plan was temporarily adjusted. The competition that many guests had been looking forward to did not appear, and it was all a one-man show. Although there were also cheers from the audience, it was always a little less interesting, and it seemed very fake. Although they had long heard that variety shows nowadays were not like the past, and had become various kinds of editing and gluing, all for the program effect. But when this kind of thing really happened to them, they still felt very vexed. When they thought that Chen Guang scenes would be integrated into the whole program one by one, they thought that the audience would be fooled by the seemingly seamless editing, and they would think that they were really competing with him. But in fact, it was just the effect of the editing. They felt very disgusted. How was this a competition? It was clearly a fraud. Sai, I thought we could compete with Superman, but it turns out that it's actually like this. That's right, fraud. It seems that Superman is no different from those celebrities who rely on hype. You can't say that. I have carefully studied his previous programs, and they don't seem to be fake. But this time, I don't know what he took wrong, but he suddenly wants to compete with us. This is completely different from what he did in the past. That's right. How strong a person is can be seen from his body. How can he compete with us with that head of his? Don't you know that he used to be the champion of the world arm wrestling competition? We know, but so what? You can't possibly think that people will cooperate with him in that kind of international competition, right? That won't happen, but we are competing with the strength of the whole body. Just like when we pull a truck, we not only rely on wrist strength and arm strength, but also the strength of the waist and legs. There are many arm wrestling masters with unstable lower bodies. A few years ago, I once wrestled with a foreign champion, and he was thrown out with his eyes closed. It was not a problem at all. That's true. Then it feels like we have become his background? Do we have to go against our conscience to promote him? I don't know what you think, but anyway, I feel this way, and it's quite unpleasant. If it wasn't for the head office specifically talking to me before we left, I really didn't want to do this. I'm so disappointed. When I go back, I'll tell my nephew to stop worshiping him. Boring, really boring. This person, once he has money and status, he will become bad, and he will think of such empty tricks. I think he is at his wit's end, but he still needs a good reputation, so he came up with this fraud. Why bother? Isn't his movie quite popular now? Who knows? The world of the rich is so *king complicated. Forget it. Anyway, the appearance fee he gives is high enough, and the team also has subsidies. We can't afford to offend him, so just talk to him in private. Don't gossip outside. I know, but look at those foreign strongmen over there. They're not as sensible as us. Do you want to go and say hello to them? Forget it. We are not his lackeys. It's not worth it to run errands for him. We just want these international friends full of a sense of justice to expose all the fraud and shameless acts. Chen Guang, who was being criticized in all kinds of ways in private, spent the whole day lying on the beach chair that Chu Zijin sent over. Originally, he was supposed to cooperate with the other guests to finish the recording today, but after the adjustment of the recording plan, his scenes were all moved to tomorrow. He also knew that the guests would more or less have opinions, and if he encountered this kind of thing, he would also be unhappy, but he had no choice. Putting himself in their shoes, it was completely understandable for others to have opinions. Chapter 1147. Why don't you come with us from the start tomorrow morning? After today, everyone will have some opinions about it. That night, Chun Guang still did not go to the hotel where Chu Zijin and the others were staying. Instead, he chose to have a conference call with Chu Zijin at another hotel on the other side of Langfang County. Chun Guang stood in front of the window. There's no hurry. We'll talk about tomorrow's matters tomorrow. You should stick to the original plan for the time being. It'd be best if I can compress the recording time a little. It'd be best if it can be controlled within an hour. Chu Zijin finally could not help but ask, "Didn't you say that the bounty matter is not a threat to you? But I keep feeling that something is wrong with you today." Chun Guang sighed. "It doesn't affect me, but you guys are not me, right?" Chu Zijin thought for a moment and suddenly came to a realization. "I see. Why don't we change the filming time? We can reshoot your scenes after your matter is resolved." "That's too much trouble. We should finish filming the 4th episode as soon as possible and let the show air again. I'm also very anxious about this matter. Why is there the sound of wind on your side? Aren't you in your room? What's wrong?" From the phone, Chu Zijin first heard the whistling sound of wind and then a loud bang. She was shocked. Chun Guang's calm voice came from the phone. "It's nothing. I just went out and suddenly wanted to go for a night jog to stretch my muscles." "Night jog? Stretch my muscles?" "That's right. Life is about exercise. All right, if there's nothing else, I'll hang up first. See you tomorrow." After Chun Guang finished speaking, he did not wait for Chu Zijin to reply and hung up the phone with a snap. Of course, he would not go for a night jog for no reason. At this moment, he was traversing the streets of Langfang County at an extremely terrifying speed, like a ghost. Even the newly upgraded high-definition high-speed Skynet camera could not capture his figure at all. After waiting bitterly for several days, and today was even more frightening. Finally, the person he was waiting for had arrived. He did not know which unlucky organization it was. In short, the moment he opened the curtains and looked outside, he keenly caught a prying gaze. This gaze was at least 1,000 meters away from him. It came from a small hill in the distance. Someone was looking at his window with binoculars. If it was in the past, he wouldn't have been able to detect the spying from so far away. But things were different now. His spiritual energy was stronger than before. As the Earth explosion, he was constantly absorbing the power of the Earth element in the world, which made his connection with everything in this world even closer. When he was fully focused on himself and raised his alertness and acuity to the highest, his sixth sense would become extremely terrifying. He would be able to sense even the slightest movement, not to mention being spied on by a killer with binoculars. Even if a sparrow turned its head to look at him from a few hundred meters away, he would be able to turn around and glare at the sparrow. Not good. I've been found. On the top of a hill 1,000 meters away, a tall white man in a black suit threw away the binoculars in his hand and cursed at the communicator in front of him. Then he quickly and methodically packed the big thing he had just assembled into the cello case. "You idiot! What the hell is wrong with you? Didn't I tell you that this Chun Guang is not ordinary and that you have to be careful? Honey Badger, don't you know me? I've never been so careful before. I was watching him with binoculars from 1,000 meters away. But just as I raised the binoculars, he suddenly jumped out of the window. I don't know what happened. Jumped out of the window. Yes, he jumped out of the window. He jumped out of the window from the 8th floor. He should be coming straight for me now. Then why aren't you running? Aren't I packing my things now? It's a distance of 1,000 meters. He won't be able to get there so quickly. It's not a straight line from where he is to where I am. There are many alleys in between. Strictly speaking, it's at least 2,000 meters. No, Fox, run. You don't know how fast he is. Can he be faster than me packing my gun? I'm a professional. I only need 30 seconds. No. Fox, you're too careless. Throw away your damn gun and run without looking back. How is that possible? This is my beloved baby. This is my brother. He's my comrade and partner. The Caucasian man named Fox expressed his feelings for his comrade to the man on the walkie-talkie as he slammed the box shut. Although Fox and the honey badger were talking nonstop, he did not slow down in packing his things. He said 30 seconds, and he meant it. The honey badger said helplessly, "Okay, but you should hurry up and leave. You've been exposed. Leave China first. We have to make a new plan. This $100 million is not that easy to get." "No problem." Fox's hand shook, and he threw the cello box on his back. Then he exclaimed, "F***CK? Damn it. What's wrong now?" The honey badger asked loudly through the walkie-talkie. Fox silently picked up the walkie-talkie and stared straight ahead with eyes as sharp as a falcon's. He slowly whispered, "He's here." "What? 30 seconds?" The honey badger on the other side of the walkie-talkie was also shocked. Fox looked at the figure in the darkness that was one size smaller than him, but he could feel the infinite pressure coming from it. "Yes, 30 seconds. I have to die." "Die?" The honey badger on the other side asked subconsciously, but the walkie-talkie was already busy. Fox casually threw the walkie-talkie aside and tried to adjust his breathing, trying to make himself look calmer. However, his slightly trembling fingers betrayed the shock and fear in his heart. My God, a 2-kilometer journey in 30 seconds. What did this mean? It meant that Chun Guang rushed over from where he jumped out of the window at an average speed of 66 meters per second, which was 240 kilometers per hour. How was this possible? But it was true. He was going crazy. Fox thought to himself, "What kind of person am I facing? Why would I be stupid enough to try to kill such a person? $100 million bounty? No matter how much money it was, he had to be alive to take it. As the trump card of the trump cards of the higher animals, and one of the top 10 killers in the world, Fox had always been known for his strong psychological quality. He almost never felt fear. Having been a professional killer for 15 years, it was not that Fox had never encountered dangerous situations. He had even safely escaped from the pursuit of more than 50 police officers. He had even had 3 guns pointed at his head at a very close distance. But he was still the one who had the last laugh. But inexplicably, looking at the dark shadow in the night, this time he could not control his emotions at all. Even though he could not see the other's eyes, Fox subconsciously felt that it must be a pair of eyes that could eat people, revealing a lingering coldness. But the strange thing was, the moment when he appeared was the moment when he let his guard down the most. Why did he not directly make a move? "Who are you?" As expected of Fox. Even though his heart was beating wildly out of control, his tone was still very calm. There was even a hint of doubt in his tone, as if he was a camping artist who had suddenly bumped into a stranger. Coupled with the cello case on his back, it really was a little bit interesting. If it was someone else, they would definitely be fooled by him, but unfortunately, the person he was facing was Chun Guang, who had just been recognized by the whole world for his acting skills. Chun Guang, the world's #1 actor in human history, was crazily worshipped by countless performing arts practitioners all over the world. With his 3-legged cat skills, he was even more miserable than the sun monkey in front of the Buddha. Chun Guang almost laughed out loud. Keep pretending, keep pretending." Chun Guang mercilessly laughed at this miserable killer who came to eat poisonous crabs. "You really have 8 lifetimes of bad luck to fall into my hands. I really don't know you. If there's nothing else, I have to leave here. It's late at night, and the public security in China is not very good. Sir, you also have to pay more attention to your safety." Fox hid his hands behind his back and then tried to leave from the side as if nothing had happened. "I'm very careful about my own safety. That's why I came here. What about you? It's a dark and windy night. A foreigner like you came to this mountain. What are you doing?" Second brother from Africa is called a honey badger in China. Do you understand? Honey badgers are creatures that overestimate themselves and are not afraid of death. They even dare to take the initiative to attack lions, just like what you did this time. Chun Guang suddenly retracted the smile on his face and spoke coldly. Fox looked like he was gradually losing control. He stomped his feet and took out his phone with his left hand, pretending to make a call. "You lunatic! I will call the police now. I know that the police number in China is 110. Bang! A loud sound was heard. It turned out that while he pretended to make a call with his left hand, his right hand had secretly taken out an M500 and aimed at Chen Guang's chest. Unfortunately, nothing happened. Just like how he caught the Glock bullet with 2 fingers on the plane, this time, Chen Guang used his right index finger and thumb to gently pinch the M500's 3,517 joule kinetic energy 12. 7 millimeters magram bullet, as if he was pinching a pinch of sugar. The fox was completely dumbfounded. Although he had seen it in a video before, he knew that it could be real. But this was an M500, the king of handguns. How'd he do it? Besides, if he could catch the M500 bullet at such a close distance, it seemed like the big guy in the cello case on my back couldn't do anything to him, no matter how far away we were. Are you still human? Chen Guang looked at him calmly, then turned to look at the bullet in his hand. What an amazing cameraman. Can we talk now? After saying that, Chen Guang didn't give Fox a chance to talk. He kicked him in the chest with lightning speed, sending him flying. He even flew over the top of the mountain and landed on the mountain below. When Fox was kicked by Chen Guang's right foot, it was as if he had been electrocuted. All the strength in his body was instantly sucked out. He couldn't even move his fingers. Fox was floating in the air when his body trembled. Chen Guang had actually caught up to him. Chen Guang grabbed his collar with his right hand while his left hand casually reached to the side and took out his M500. Fox screamed, "I'm falling." Chen Guang ignored him. Instead, he looked at the M500 in his hand. "Your invincible rabbit looks really unique, Fox friend." Hearing the wind whistling in his ears, Fox's heart was like dead ashes. He was unwilling and wanted to struggle, but he knew that he was dead for sure. From the moment Chen Guang jumped out of the window, he had no chance. Even if he didn't waste those 30 seconds, he wouldn't be able to escape. All right, perhaps from the moment he accepted this mission, he was destined to end up like this. Chapter 1148. The two of them continue to fall rapidly. Fox, who was familiar with the terrain here, knew that they were falling at a height of at least 10 meters, 3 stories high. If a normal person fell like this, even if they did not die, they would be left paralyzed. It would be Jesus if they could still move their fingers. However, Fox knew that Chen Guang would definitely be fine. He had jumped straight down from the 8th floor, smashed a big hole in the ground, and ran over to him as if nothing had happened. Oh right, it was a speed of 240 kilometers per hour, twice as fast as the cheetah, the fastest living creature on Earth. Flying in the air, Fox thought of another partner in the same organization as him. Well, it was the guy codenamed Cheetah. He was known for his running speed, his movements were extremely agile, and he even had the confidence to compete with Usain Bolt in short-distance outbursts. His ambush was deep and full of murderous intent. His nickname of Cheetah was well-deserved, and he was also the top killer in the entire Higher Animals organization, second only to himself. However, compared to Chen Guang, he was not even qualified to carry Chen Guang's shoes. There was a living person running twice as fast as a real cheetah. This completely violated the common sense of biology and physics. Well, that's not important anymore. What's important is how I should survive now. This thought ran through Fox's mind crazily. After his hands were stained with blood, where he suddenly fell into an incomparably desperate situation, Fox, who had thought that he was no longer afraid of death, inexplicably had a strong desire to survive. He finally vaguely understood the pain and fear of the targets who had struggled and begged for mercy under his knife. He also finally understood the unwillingness of every target who had fallen to the ground after being hit in a vital spot by his sniper rifle as they struggled to survive. Of course, his benevolent self would always quietly watch them die, and in his heart, he would say, "God will forgive me." All right, we're about to land. Just now, when Chen Guang jumped off the building, he protected himself very well. Now, he should be protecting me, right? He must want to get some useful information from me, right? Boom! Just as Fox was thinking about this, he first heard the loud sound of Chen Guang's feet stepping on the ground, and then he was still falling. Fox's eyes widened as he sucked in a deep breath. He could only see that the ground was getting closer and closer to his eyes. Before that, his feet had already hit the ground. Bursts of electric shocks began to rapidly spread from his toes. This strange sensation was even faster than the pain. Fox's ears could even hear the crunching sound of bones being crushed. His face was getting closer and closer to the soil. The fragrance of the soil assaulted his nostrils. It was very similar to the smell of the soil covering the funeral of one of his targets. I'm going to die. Just as this thought popped up in Fox's mind, he felt a strong pulling force coming from behind him. He was thankful for the excellent quality of his combat uniform. Even though his neck was almost broken by the collar and his ribs were almost crushed, he still didn't land on his face and survived. However, this was not good news. After being kicked by Chen Guang, he had inexplicably lost all his strength. Now, at least a third of his bones were broken, so he could not hope to use any means to fight back. With a clatter, Chen Guang let go of Fox's clothes, letting him fall to the ground like a dead dog. The air was quiet for about 10 seconds before Chen Guang kicked Fox. All right, stop pretending to be dead, Fox from 4. F***CK. I don't make cars. Fox was about to collapse. He could clearly protect himself, but he deliberately broke all his bones just now. Now he's even making fun of me. Chen Guang squatted down and looked at this guy from top to bottom. Well, Mr. Fox, tell me the name of your organization. I already know 2 names. One is you, and the other is Second Brother from Africa. Save some time. There aren't many chances for you to say your last words. Actually, even if you don't say it, I should be able to find out who you are. Since you don't plan to let me go, why should I tell you? The fox groaned in despair. I've never seen someone interrogating a prisoner like this. You should at least give me some hope of survival so that you can pry open my mouth. Chen Guang shrugged. If I say that I'll let you go after you confess everything, would you believe me? Fox was silent. Then he grimaced and squeezed out a smile that was uglier than crying. I don't believe you. Chen Guang simply sat down cross-legged. That's it. So I might as well tell you directly that you're dead. But if you're honest, I can let you die a quick death. Besides, you should have seen the video of Schultz from American Airlines. Don't be afraid to tell you. I have a way to make you speak like Schultz, very relaxed and casual. You can't hide any secrets from me. Come, let's make a long story short. What's the name of your organization? I'll give you a quick death. I don't think there's any poison in your teeth. You've never failed a mission before, and you don't have the courage or preparation to commit suicide. Yes, I've never failed, but I didn't expect that my first failure would be so miserable. No, you're not miserable at all. I can see a strong smell of blood in your pupils. You must have killed a lot of people before, so it's only right that you die a violent death. Fox was silent, and his mind was in turmoil. Forget it. I'm going to die anyway. Why should I keep a secret? Let me reintroduce myself. I'm a #1 killer of the Higher Animals organization, Fox. Chen Guang laughed. Higher Animals. Your organization's name is really unique. This is a good start. You should be feeling pain by now. After all, you've broken so many bones. Okay, let's continue. We'll speed up the pace and let you suffer a little less. Where did you get the mission, and who issued the mission? The dark web. Your name is there, and every top killer can accept the mission. We don't know the information of the publisher, and we don't need to know. Chen Guang interrupted him. I know about the dark web. Your information is meaningless to me. Say something useful. You don't need to know the client's information, but you seem to be stronger than ordinary killers. So, you should know some information about the dark web, right? Who established the dark web? Where's the headquarters? Where's the database? Fox tilted his head and looked at him. Sir, do you think I'll know? Chen Guang silently stretched out his hand. Then there's no other way. Have you heard of a kind of punishment? It's called 1,000 cuts. It's to tear off a person's flesh piece by piece, but you don't let the person die. In the end, the person being interrogated will only be left with a skeleton. Then, there will be a creaking sound, but he won't die. Let me tell you something else. Do you know why I'm so strong? I have a method. You foreigners call it Chinese Kung Fu. Some people believe it, and some don't. But I have to tell you that it's true. When I kicked you in the chest just now, I injected my internal energy into your body and then blocked your 7 meridians and 8 meridians. Well, you may not understand what 7 meridians and 8 meridians are, but it's basically blocking your blood flow. It's like using a plug to block your blood vessels. Of course, you won't have any strength. This method can be used to subdue you, but it can also be used to save your life. Do you want to see your own skeleton wobbling? Fox swallowed hard. I really don't know the inside story of the dark web, but our leader, Honey Badger, once told me his speculation. Don't treat me like this. I'll tell you everything. Okay, go ahead. The dark web is actually not a real organization. It's a platform built by all the killer organizations that have reached a certain level in the world. The dark web doesn't have a fixed server. Instead, it's built using the idle server resources in countless gray areas all over the world. But because it doesn't have a fixed server, it's almost impossible to destroy the website. In addition, there's no background data. The employer only posts the mission information one by one. There's no backup. Chun Guang wondered, how do you pay me? In the modern world, it's hard to keep any large cash flow completely secret, right? Sir, have you heard of Bitcoin? D*MN, you guys use Bitcoin? That's not it. The dark web uses another currency similar to Bitcoin. It can bypass all surveillance. Chun Guang shrugged. Okay, I understand. It seems that I can't get any information about the dark web and the mission issuer from you. Yes, I've told you everything I know. Chun Guang stood up, looked at his watch, and then looked down at Fox. You have 5 minutes to say your last words. Actually, it wasn't that he was soft-hearted. He also knew that villains died because they talked too much. Although this guy was a killer who came to assassinate him, his current position and appearance made him look like a villain in a movie. Giving him a chance to say his last words was actually to let him say something nice before he died. Maybe he could get more information out of this guy. The Soul Snatch was Chun Guang's trump card, but he used it more to bluff people. He couldn't use it easily. The last time he dealt with a weakling like Schultz, he was so tired that he fell asleep. If he used it on a well-trained killer with a strong will, Chun Guang felt that he could pass out on the spot. If he fainted, so be it. Even if someone took the opportunity to launch a sneak attack at him with a Gatling gun for half an hour, it wouldn't be a big deal. However, there were many perverted killers since ancient times. What if it wasn't enough to kill him and wanted to kill someone else? When that happened, he wouldn't know anything. When he woke up, he would see corpses all over the place. Who could he reason with? So, he tried not to use the Soul Snatch, if possible. Mr. Chun, do I have to die? Why won't he let me go? If you let me go back alive. Chun Guang interrupted him. Are you kidding me? You came to kill me, and now you're begging me to let you go? Even if you're as weak as a rabbit in front of me, you really want to kill me. Do you think a tiger will let go of a rabbit that wants to kill it? Besides, someone should have said something similar to you before, right? Did you let them go? You only have 4 minutes and 30 seconds left. Hurry up. You can ask your headquarters for help, or something else. You can ask your companions to avenge you, but don't let me go. Fox was silent for a few seconds, then said, You're a madman. If I let you go or kill you, it won't change anything. Since you've already set your eyes on the 100 million bounty, of course, you won't give up easily. Even if you give up, others will take over. That's not a small number. $100 million. You can get it just by killing someone. Isn't it easy? Aren't you afraid? My companions won't let you go. They won't be as careless as me next time. Chun Guang rolled his eyes. I don't care about your threats. Do you know about the broken world? I know. Do you know that the broken world is gone? I know. But do you know who did it? Fox nodded subconsciously. I know. It's the Chinese military. Chun Guang shook his head and waved his finger. No, that's just what we said to the public. We don't want to scare you. What do you mean? To be precise, it was me. I alone. I killed them all. Chun Guang pointed at himself shamelessly. But he wasn't bragging. He was the one who did it in the punishment world. The difference was that he used the Earth Elemental Controller right, Chen's method, in the punishment world. The scene was grand, but not as bloody. The fox's eyes widened in disbelief. He didn't believe what Chun Guang said at all, but his subconscious told him that it was most likely true. Actually, he wasn't one of the top 10 assassins in the world in the past. His ranking was around 20. He only became one of the top 10 after the broken world was destroyed. The broken world status in the world of assassins and what kind of strength he had was needless to say. The destruction of the broken world had caused quite a commotion. Many people in the same profession speculated that the Chinese military had used extreme methods. After all, they didn't even hide the fact that they had crossed the border. Today, Fox finally heard the truth from Chen Guang. He was shocked and couldn't accept it. On the other side, Chen Guang continued, "So feel free to let your companions take revenge. The more the better. I'll kill as many as they come. Do you want to become enemies with all the assassins in the world?" Chen Guang said indifferently. "It's not that I want to. It's just that I've always done it. It's just that I didn't have time to deal with you in the past. If you don't provoke me, I won't bother." Fox clenched his teeth. "Why would you think that? There's no reason. I've never felt any pity for people in your profession. Since you guys rely on robbing others of their lives to earn money, you should die a violent death. Since you guys have designs on my life because of the $100 million bounty, I can't just sit and wait for death. Fine, I won't die, but I'm annoyed. So, I hope that you guys come quickly and in large numbers. If 100 come, I'll kill 100. If 1,000 come, I'll kill 1,000. If 10,000 come, I'll kill 10,000. 100,000, a million, it doesn't make a difference to me." Chen Guang said calmly. "It's best if I can kill all the assassins in one go. That way, I'll have an easier time, right?" Fox sucked in a breath of cold air. You're the real butcher. In a sense, my hands are indeed stained with blood. So, I don't mind taking more lives. Send a message to your headquarters. I don't care what your organization's ranking is or how many experts you have. I only care how many people will come to die." Chen Guang's tone became more and more indifferent as he spoke. He didn't want to admit it, but after arranging the Glorious Shields operation, his mentality had become a bit off. He had been restraining the killing intent in his heart. He just wanted to focus on the matter in front of him. But his restraint had been a bit out of control on the way to Langfang County with Chu Zijin this morning. And tonight, this so-called high-level animal organization fox had appeared in front of him. After smelling the blood on his body, he had become even more out of control. "You seem to hate us, but haven't you ever thought that an assassin's life is also a life? We're just a profession that takes people's money to eliminate disasters. This is just an ordinary profession." Fox didn't know where he got his courage from, but he actually tried to defend the assassins. He suddenly felt that he was representing the entire world's assassin community, negotiating with the devil. His efforts could save the lives of countless assassins. "I seem to have become noble." Chen Guang was almost amused by him. "Don't you think that your words are ridiculous and laughable? I'm not a saint, and I don't have so much free time. As long as you don't provoke me, nothing will happen. But right now, my name is hanging high up on the dark web. God knows how many people are getting restless. Now you're telling me that you're just an ordinary profession, like the street cleaners? Your shamelessness really makes me gasp in amazement. Yes, every life should be a fair existence. But no one. They can easily take other people's lives for their own benefits. I abided by this principle. So even though I'm so strong that it surpasses your understanding, I didn't take the initiative to find trouble with you after destroying the broken world. This is my self-restraint. But now the situation is different. You took the initiative to find me. It was you who ignited the flames of war. It was you who opened Pandora's box. So you have to bear the consequences." Fox was incomparably sad to find that not only could he not beat him, he couldn't even win an argument with him. After listening to his words, even he felt that assassins were unforgivable. Rather than waiting for him to kill them one by one, he might as well commit suicide. "All right, I've talked enough nonsense with you. Contact your headquarters. You don't have much time left." When Chen Guang finished speaking, he turned around and no longer bothered with Su Tao. Fox looked at Chen Guang's back for about 10 seconds and finally gave up the urge to take out the big guy from the cello case. "It's no use. It's meaningless. Honey Badger, don't take revenge for me. Never accept any missions related to Chen Guang ever again. Contact our friends from Dark Shadow and Z Organization and tell them to stay away from missions related to Chen Guang." 30 seconds later, Fox spoke into his special communication device and left his last words in this world. Chen Guang turned back to look at him. You made the wrong decision. Chapter 1149. When Chen Guang returned to the hotel room, it was already 10 minutes later. When he came out, he left in a hurry, but when he returned, he was leisurely as if he was taking a stroll. He did not care about what the high animal honey badger would decide, nor could he interfere. As for what exactly the Shadow and the Z organization that Fox mentioned just now was, it didn't make much difference to him. Just as he said, two come, two die, it was as simple as that. If others dared to stroke the tiger's whiskers, they had to be mentally prepared to be torn apart by the tiger. Chen Guang was never lenient towards assassin organizations, just like what he did to the Broken World. Most assassin organizations were narrow-minded. They were allowed to kill others, but they were not allowed to kill their people. But this time, they ran into an iron plate, and it was their bad luck. When he passed by the hotel, a large group of people was gathered there, looking at the hole that he had made when he landed, chattering nonstop. The hole was 3 decimeters deep and about 1 meter in diameter. It looked very abrupt. Chen Guang thought to himself that his posture when he accidentally went downstairs was too cool. This caused a commotion. I moved so fast. No one should have noticed me, right? He pressed down on the brim of his cap, quietly moved forward, and hid in the crowd. I'll bet you 500. Something must have fallen here just now. That's how it could make such a big hole in the floor. A hotel employee in a security uniform said excitedly. Next to him, a man in a suit rubbed his chin. Yes, that's right, but what about the thing? Where is it? Manager, don't ask me. I don't know either. I came here when the sound came, but I didn't see anything. The manager was also puzzled. He squatted down and carefully looked at the ground. Then what's going on? Is there a recording from the surveillance? Another security guard next to him shook his head. No, I didn't see anything. I just saw this place was fine, and suddenly there was a rumble. I blinked my eyes, and the hole is here. The group of onlookers looked at each other in dismay. Everyone, including the manager, was at a loss. Did anyone notice that there are 2 marks in this hole? At this time, a seemingly knowledgeable old man next to him muttered. The security guard who spoke first replied, "We're not blind." The corners of the keeper's mouth twitched in embarrassment. But as expected of a scholar, he quickly composed himself. If we want to know what caused this hole, then we should start with these 2 marks. Seeing that his words were reasonable, the others listened attentively. The keeper's heart was filled with a sense of accomplishment. He squatted down and ran his hand over the marks on the bottom of the crater. According to my years of experience, these were 2 hard objects that struck the floor. Everyone rolled their eyes. Aren't you just spouting nonsense? We really aren't blind. The manager couldn't stand him either. These 2 hard objects should be man-made, but the strange thing is that this security brother immediately rushed to the scene, but he didn't see anything, and there was nothing in the surveillance video. The keeper didn't seem to mind the stares. Seeing that he was starting to reason again, the crowd calmed down. With that said, the keeper stood up, arched his neck, straightened his back, and paced 2 circles. His fingers twirled, as if he were telling a fortune. Everyone saw that he was acting mysteriously, but they didn't want to disturb him, so they could only follow his gaze. After a long time, when everyone was about to get dizzy, he suddenly stopped, turned around, and glared at them. I know. What do you know? The manager and the security guard asked in unison. The keeper took a deep breath and turned his head to face the crowd. His face was solemn, and he spoke with a hint of fear in his eyes. He looked up at the sky, and then at the people around him. He lowered his voice to a whisper. Gentlemen, have you ever considered that this place is haunted? These 2 marks are actually the footprints of a ghost. The crowd subconsciously laughed in unison, expressing their disdain for the keeper's superstitious thinking. But it didn't last more than a few seconds. The crowd's thoughts began to settle, and the atmosphere grew heavy. The smiles on their faces slowly disappeared. The security guard in charge of the surveillance camera scratched his head as he tried to recall. I've checked the video at least 3 times, and there's nothing. And there's this hole in the ground. Did you play the video in slow motion to examine it? The manager's face was pale, and his hair stood on end as he asked. The man continued to scratch his head. The third time I played it in slow motion frame by frame. Of the 24 frames per second, there was a blurry shadow in 2 frames, but nothing else. 2 frames, the manager asked, and then began to count on his fingers. In other words, the thing hit the ground within 0.1 seconds, hit the ground, and then flew away? Although everyone felt there was something wrong with the man's analysis, they couldn't find any reason to refute it. The keeper coughed lightly, and once again focused everyone's attention on him. His voice grew darker. Do you understand now? It's a ghost. Only a ghost can do this, slow it down and slow it down, and only a ghost can avoid being caught on camera. Manager, ever since I checked into your hotel the day before yesterday, I've had the feeling there's something wrong with the feng shui here. Now it looks like I'm right. Your crouching dragon appears to be in the middle of a dragon's cave and has the chi of the black tortoise, but in actuality, the manager, the security guards, and the rest of the crowd were left in suspense. Actually what? When the hotel was first built, the feng shui master we had arranged for it to be like this. The keeper clapped his hands together. In fact, it looks like you have the chi of the black tortoise, but this black tortoise isn't the real arbiter of fate. It's Yin. What's Yin? Humans have 7 emotions and 6 desires. There's a positive and negative side, and the ancient gods also have positive and negative sides. The black tortoise that your hotel occupies is the dark side of the black tortoise's heart. It's not strange for ghosts to appear here. At this moment, Chen Guang, who was hiding in the crowd, could tell that this pedant wasn't a proper person. Don't be fooled by his words, but when he first mentioned the crouching dragon and the chi of the black tortoise, the onlookers assumed it was a result of divination. But Chen Guang sensed something familiar in the keeper's tone and expression. Yes, it was the smell of acting. She was like a professional actor who had already sketched out the lines in the script and acted with great emotion and emotion. Clearly, he was in cahoots with the other feng shui master they had hired when the hotel was first built. Echoing each other's words, their goal was to make some money from the hotel. The manager was thoroughly intimidated. Sir, what you say makes sense, but what should we do now? The keeper seemed to want to say something, but hesitated. He looked at the others, and the manager understood. The keeper turned and walked to the side. The keeper was deliberately hiding from the crowd, but he didn't know that Chen Guang had heard every word. It's not that there isn't a way. You'll have to perform a ritual and open a few wind gates. Let the yin energy flow out and turn it into the yang energy, a true dragon. That way, the problem will be solved. Sir, I understand what you mean, but this is a serious matter. I'll have to contact the boss first. All right, no problem. You decide. I'll be staying in Langf County for another 3 to 5 days, so make your decision as soon as possible. Sir, where are you going? The keeper patted the manager on the shoulder, his expression inscrutable. Traveling the 4 seas. Heaven's secrets cannot be divulged. Chen Guang didn't intend to pay attention to these matters, but he felt his murderous aura had been too strong. He'd once thought his heart would always be as calm as a lake, unperturbed by the waves. But now it seemed that people change, especially when their status and position changed. This made him sad. The assassin's organization deserved to die, but in the past he wouldn't have been so contemptuous and dismissive of the lives of others. Assassins did deserve to die, but as the fox had said before his death, they were still people, and they had lives. Chen Guang understood that while he was talking about the equality of all living things, he had come up with an all-conquering reason to take the lives of others. It was a contradiction. Chen Guang understood that even though he was aware of the changes taking place, he couldn't control the situation. If a man could control his heart and soul in the direction he desired, then he wasn't a man, but a god. So now, Chen Guang wanted to be more grounded. How be grounded? Exposing the scams in front of him was the only way to be grounded. Meddling in the affairs of the world would make him more human. He walked over to the manager and the keeper, took off his cap, and coughed twice. Old gentleman, please don't pretend to be a ghost. What kind of ghost is this? You're the one with a ghost in your head. The manager, on the other hand, wasn't happy. He turned to scold Chen Guang. What do you know, kid? Damn, Mr. Chun, why are you here? The manager, of course, knew Chen Guang. Today, when Chen Guang had checked into the hotel, ensuring that he wasn't disturbed had become the highest priority of the hotel staff. That was why they'd been so nervous when they'd heard the commotion below. Chen Guang shrugged. If I didn't come and take a look, you'd be tricked into selling your underwear. The keeper at the side seemed to be focused on swindling. He didn't recognize Chen Guang. Instead, he frowned and looked at Chen Guang with an unhappy expression. Young man, you can eat whatever you want, but you can't say whatever you want. I know you youngsters don't believe in feng shui, but that doesn't mean you have the right to deny the traditions of your ancestors. This Tao master is just trying to help this young friend solve his problem out of goodwill. Aren't you a bit lacking in manners by scolding people? Young man, there's no harm in reading more books. Understanding more about the traditions left behind by our ancestors is helpful in improving one's self-cultivation. Feng shui, physiognomy, and the Book of Changes are the wisdom left behind by our ancestors. They've been passed down for thousands of years, and they rely on genuine ability and knowledge, not on having a ghost in the head. Chen Guang didn't say anything. Instead, it was the manager who stared blankly at the keeper. The manager was greatly frightened. How ignorant and ill-informed was this old man to not recognize Chen Guang? Did he have to read more books? Old man, do you know that the person standing in front of you is currently the internationally recognized master of immaterials? He is a true master, unadulterated. If it weren't for the fact that among the martial artists of Jianghu, there was someone from the plainclothes sect who was truly proficient in feng shui and physiognomy, especially Taoist Song Song, who was even more famous in Jianghu, Chen Guang would have almost been tricked by this old man. Of course, the most important thing was that he knew where this hole came from. Old man, what you say makes a lot of sense, but it's no use because I know where this hole came from. The keeper laughed out loud. You know? Chen Guang nodded. That's right, I know very well. The manager at the side hesitated for a few seconds, subconsciously feeling that Chen Guang was more reliable. Mr. Chen, you should say something. Chen Guang shrugged. Are you stupid? Don't you see that right above this place is my room window? The manager nodded. That's right. I know that Mr. Chen's room is above. It's on the 8th floor, our presidential suite. Chen Guang grunted. It's good that you know. I'm not afraid of you asking me for compensation. I'll tell you directly, this hole was made by me. I jumped down and smashed it. What? As he spoke, Chen Guang didn't hide anything, but rather spoke in a loud and carefree voice. The surrounding crowd of onlookers, the manager, the security guard, and the keeper were all stupefied. Ha ha ha! Young man, are you sleepwalking? The keeper laughed out loud, and then said, This Tao master has lived for more than 60 years, and I've never heard of such a preposterous and nonsensical matter. A person jumped down from the 8th floor and smashed such a big hole in the ground, and then you're telling others that this hole was made by him? Ha ha! Are you an idiot or what? If what you say is true, then this Tao master also jumped down from the 8th floor and smashed a hole like this for you. Chen Guang squinted at him with interest. Are you sure? The keeper nodded heavily. A gentleman's word. In order to swindle this hotel, he and his accomplices had painstakingly planned for half a month. Originally, they wouldn't have been so anxious, but today was a heaven-sent opportunity. How could he let it slip by? Of course, he wouldn't cower. Chen Guang opened his mouth wide, forming an O shape, and then said, A promise cannot be taken back. But what if you can't do it? You'll fall to the 8th floor and become minced meat. If I can't do it, then this Tao master will kneel on the ground and crawl like a dog, bark like a dog, all night long. The old swindler threw caution to the wind. He couldn't be exposed by this young man he didn't know. Chen Guang laughed. That's fine, old sir. Give me a minute. I'll give you a few postures. Before going upstairs, Chen Guang called out to the manager and the others. Hey, everyone, get your phones ready. Mr. Chen, what are you doing? Don't mess around. Chen Guang shrugged, jumping off a building. What? Hearing this, everyone jumped in fright. However, Chen Guang's face was calm. Didn't he say he didn't believe me? Wouldn't it be fine if I just jumped again? It's like drinking soup. It's not a big deal. Later, make sure I look more handsome. It wasn't until Chung Guang went upstairs that the manager's mind reacted in a daze. He remembered a video he had watched a few days ago that had gone viral on the internet. He caught the bullet with his finger. It seemed he was for real. Chapter 1150. What if he felt his death? This terrible thought silently arose in the minds of many people present, but they were not sure, so they could not think of stopping Chung Guang. After all, many people had seen the video of him catching a bullet with 2 fingers. If what happened in the video was true, then it seemed understandable that he could jump from the 8th floor and come out unscathed. In addition, the manager and security guards were also wondering if they had the ability to stop what Chung Guang had decided to do. After all, he was the man with the strongest wrist strength in the world. Who could really stop him if he wanted to do something? They could only call the police and let the police stop him, but it was too late now. Speaking of which, it was unlikely that a famous person like Chung Guang, who had money, power, and a sister, would commit suicide with a hole in his brain. He was not stupid. There was only one explanation for this. He really had experience in things like jumping off a building. Hey, why aren't you guys going to stop him? Are you really going to let this idiot jump off a building? What if he falls to his death? The old liar was not in a hurry at all. He said leisurely with his hands crossed. He did not believe that Chung Guang would really jump. The manager could not help but ask, "Old sir, you really don't know him?" The old liar had his hand behind his back like an expert and was very arrogant. This Tao master has always been obsessed with learning, determined to save others and myself, and fight against the heavens. Where would I have the time to pay attention to celebrities? This Tao master is already so old. Is it strange that I don't know a young man? I want to say something to you guys. If you have nothing to do, pay more attention to useful things. Don't waste time on those little fresh meats. Celebrities are also people. There's nothing special about them. Stop chasing them and do more work. This kid, how old is he? He doesn't have hair on his mouth, and he can't do things properly. What does he know? If the old liar was ridiculing some other celebrity, he might really be able to pull in a lot of like-minded people. Unfortunately, his target was Chung Guang. His words, which he thought were reasonable and well-founded, could only quickly collapse the reclusive expert image he had built in the minds of everyone. The more conceited he was, and the more he looked down on Chung Guang, the more ignorant and foolish he seemed. The manager couldn't help but take out his phone. "Sir, let me show you a video. You'll understand after you watch it." What strange things. This Tao master isn't interested. Although the old liar said that, his eyes involuntarily drifted to the screen of the manager's mobile phone. On it was Chung Guang's Weibo, and the video that was opened was the best video of him catching bullets with 2 fingers on the American Airlines plane. It was from a netizen named LOL2333, who was on the plane. Suddenly, the manager's phone rang out. A shot had been fired from inside. After that, the old liar's eyes widened uncontrollably as he stared at Chung Guang's 2 fingers in the video in a daze, just like every other person who saw the video for the first time. What is this? Look, it's this Mr. Chung Guang himself who was provoked by the police in the United States. After the policeman's pistol went off, he used 2 fingers to catch the bullet. The old liar gulped silently, not knowing what kind of expression he should wear to face this situation. Seeing that he had finally subdued him, the manager said proudly, "Because of this, he even represented us Chinese to sue the American airline. It won't be long before he goes to court. I heard that he'll have to pay at least 100 million. The old liar's attention immediately shifted to the 100 million. No matter how terrifying the scene before him was, it was not as ear-piercing as the word 100 million. He screamed at the top of his lungs, "How is that possible? 100 million? Don't try to bluff me." The manager shrugged. "It's 100 million, and it's in US dollars, not RMB. The old liar was completely dumbfounded this time. In just a few seconds, he had suffered 2 major blows in a row. It was a devastating blow to his outlook on life. There is actually someone in this world who could catch a bullet with his fingers, and this person was about to get 100 million US dollars. It seems like I've already offended this person. Just as the old liar's superficial knowledge was instantly shattered, Chun Guang's voice came from above everyone's heads. Hey, set up your phones and get ready to record. I'm going to jump. The manager was looking at the old liar with a look of disdain. When he heard the voice above him, he quickly turned around, raised his phone, and said, "Okay. Mr. Chun, are you really okay? F***CK." The manager found that Chun Guang's head was not poking out from the window of his suite on the 8th floor, but from the edge of the rooftop on the 10th floor. He really did not expect that Chun Guang would not be satisfied with jumping from the 8th floor to go all the way up to the rooftop. The other security guards and the gradually growing crowd of onlookers also cried out in surprise. They had forgotten that there was actually a huge difference between the 8th floor and the 10th floor. Anyway, if an ordinary person fell down like this, there was no need to chop them up, and they could just be made into pissing beef balls. Mr. Chun, don't mess around. The 10th floor is too high. Okay, Mr. Chun. We believe that you really made this hole. Hurry up and come down. Mr. Chun, you're so rich. Don't take things too hard. Chun Guang did not mind. He laughed out loud and replied, "Don't panic, you guys. I'm very familiar with jumping off a building. I have a special technique for jumping off a building." The crowd did not even want to ridicule him anymore. Which wild child would treat something like jumping off a building as if it was waking up early in the morning? What special technique do you mean? You're even familiar with it. What's your proficiency level? Chun Guang stared at the old liar again. Keep a close eye on that old liar. Don't let him get away. I'll have to carry him upstairs and throw him down later. Everyone spread out a little. I'm going to jump. And so, under the crowd's shocked, confused, doubtful, or dumbfounded gazes, Chun Guang first stood on the low wall of the rooftop, then spread out his arms, turned around, and jumped fiercely from behind. His posture was especially relaxed and elegant. Under the illumination of the moonlight and lights, he looked like a dancing elf in the dark. A young man in the crowd was a veteran Assassin's Creed player. When he saw Chun Guang's familiar posture, he was the first to exclaim, "Leap of faith." But very soon, his thoughts were overturned. Chun Guang, who was flying in the air, stretched his limbs to his heart's content. Then he started spinning. Leap of faith didn't spin. Somersault in the air. This was the exclamation of another diving enthusiast. Then, under the crowd's dumbfounded gaze, Chun Guang spun as he rapidly descended to the ground. His spinning speed was getting faster and faster, even creating a whistling sound. Boom! The moment before he landed, Chun Guang accurately spun until his feet were facing the ground. Then, with a violent shake, the floor emitted a sound like a directional explosion. In the billowing smoke and dust, Chun Guang landed perfectly in a half-squatting position. His body was curled up, and his hands were pressed down, but they didn't really touch the ground. The air stagnated for a few seconds. Then, Chun Guang stood up, opened his hands, and raised his palms like a gymnast. Then, he turned around and looked at the crowd. What do you think? I said I did it. Do you all believe me now? Only then did the crowd react, and they all looked down at his body. Damn, a new pit that was even bigger than the first one. It was at least half a meter deep, and the diameter of the surrounding cracked and sunken pit was at least 2 meters. This guy actually acted as if nothing had happened to him. He was crazy. The diving enthusiast's lips trembled. He raised his phone high and aimed the camera at Chun Guang. His teeth were chattering, and he said in a trembling voice, "Crazy, completely crazy. What do I see? This is a back somersault in the air, 4.5 turns, and a half jumps off a building. 10 points. Perhaps the others were also infected by him. No one knew who was the first to follow him. 10 points. 10 points. 10 points. 10 points. 10 points. 10 points. Except for the old liar, who was so scared that he almost knelt on the ground. The others all had fanatical smiles on their faces, and one after another, they shouted 10 points. They were like the judges at the Olympic Games. Chun Guang looked at these people's phones with satisfaction. He was very satisfied with the effect. He thought to himself that they would definitely post this video on Weibo. In the past, He was afraid that people would find out about these unusual things about him. But now it was different from the past. He couldn't keep a low profile anymore. He just wanted to be more high profile. The more eyeballs popped out, the better. He wanted everyone to be shocked into a daze. It was rare for him to meddle in other people's business today, and he could also promote his pair of Gale godlegs. It was quite good, although the chances were not high. What if the flesh god statue was completed naturally? Even if it couldn't be completed, he could still take one step closer to his goal. In particular, the audience at the venue was very cooperative. They were very professional and very skilled. Those who did not know better would have thought that they were fake reviewers that he had hired in advance. This made Chen Guang even more satisfied. Chen Guang personally enjoyed the comments about somersaulting in all directions and half-turning in all directions. Looking at the flashing cameras on the phones in front of him, he had the illusion of facing countless reporters after winning glory for the country in the Olympics. I'm undoubtedly the best of the show. Everyone was pleasantly surprised, except for the old liar. The old liar really wanted to run away, but he felt that his legs had no strength, and that annoying manager kept tugging at his clothes. The old liar was very angry. He only wanted to curse. To hell with you. Should we add a jumping event to the Olympics? If we add a 10-meter platform, the ultimate challenge would be a 30-meter platform like this. Every year, a bunch of athletes would die in the Olympics, right? The old liar felt that his talent for roasting had been awakened inexplicably. Just as Chen Guang's thanks ended, the diving enthusiast went up to him with his phone. "Mr. Chen, can I interview you?" This was an old Weibo user. He knew that he was facing a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to shoot an explosive video. At least 1 billion people around the world wanted to ride on Chen Guang's popularity, but none of them had the chance. Now that fate had favored him and the opportunity was right in front of him, whether or not he could grasp it better depended on this moment. Chen Guang was very satisfied with this guy's cooperation. Of course, he would return the favor and nodded. Of course. How do you feel now that you've just completed such a magnificent feat? Chen Guang cleared his throat. He felt that he should show more depth and not be so superficial. He had to show his professionalism and knowledge. Besides, this was not a magnificent feat at all. It was sloppy and ordinary, like drinking soup. This is not difficult at all. This is the result of my many years of training. Hard work will always be rewarded. Chen Guang spoke confidently in front of the many mobile phone cameras in front of him, as if he was holding a press conference. As we all know, diving is a very dangerous sport, especially when the height exceeds a certain level. Even if it's a 3-meter diving platform, if a person lands flat on the water, the consequences will be very serious. If the height reaches 10 meters, it will be even more dangerous. If it's light, the skin will be torn, and if it's heavy, the internal organs will rupture. It will be life-threatening. Many of the onlookers, who were holding their phones and acting as reporters, nodded. That's right. That's right. Chen Guang continued. In addition, I don't know if you've paid attention to extreme sports, but there's also the ultra-high platform diving above 10 meters. Even if you're falling vertically, you can't go head first. It's also very dangerous. In ultra-high platform diving, you must ensure that your body is completely stable and balanced when you take off. You must keep your feet down, clamp your legs together, and use both hands to protect your balls. When you enter the water, make sure that your feet are in vertical contact with the water. Everyone expressed their admiration for his professionalism. But soon, everyone realized that something was wrong. You're talking about diving, but you're jumping from a building. Over 10 meters, there's no difference between landing with your feet down and landing with your head down. Either way, you're going to die. Your professional explanation sounds awesome, but it's completely useless. Okay. Chen Guang was immersed in the thrill of bragging and didn't realize that he was making things up. It's the same for us jumpers. You must remember that you must fall vertically. Everyone thought, oh no, this guy really got carried away with his bragging. Chen Guang continued. In addition, I'd like to advise those who are interested in jumping not to learn from me and try all kinds of fancy techniques in the air. Although this makes the process of jumping look more graceful, it's very difficult for beginners to grasp their balance. It's fine if the height is a little lower, but over 10 meters, it's very easy for you to fall headfirst into the water. On no land. Only a professional jumper like me, who has undergone professional training, can take off from a platform that is more than 30 meters high, complete the technical movements perfectly, and land steadily on both feet. Everyone didn't want to talk anymore. Since when does jumping from a building have a difference between a beginner and a veteran? We'd like to see what a veteran jumper looks like, but most of them are completely unrecognizable. There's no such thing as a veteran jumper in this world. The manager coughed violently, trying to interrupt Chen Guang's victory speech, but it was useless. The diving enthusiast also got excited and started to flatter Chen Guang. Mr. Chen is right. If you land vertically, there will be less blood splatters, and the landing posture will be more graceful. If you land horizontally or head down, the scene will be very unsightly, and you'll be at a disadvantage when the judges give marks. Damn, I can't make this up anymore. F***CK. What the F***CK am I talking about? Hearing this, the enthusiastic smile on Chen Guang's face froze. He suddenly realized that he had gone too far and quickly tried to salvage the situation. He coughed violently like the manager. Everyone, my joke was good, right? That's bullsh**T. Jumping from a building is something that no one else can learn. Extremely dangerous maneuvers. Non-professionals are not allowed to imitate. Non-professionals are not allowed to imitate. You're dead. As he tried to salvage the situation, he secretly gestured with his hands, signaling everyone to quickly stop. Under Chen Guang's signal, the dozen or so guys who were holding up their phones decisively stopped recording. Chen Guang then turned his gaze to the old liar and pointed at the holes on the ground. These are the ghost footprints made by the ghost you wanted. These are your Yin, the arbiter of fate, the dragon child you wanted. How about it? Does this true dragon aura taste good enough? Chen Guang said with a ridiculing tone. If it wasn't for the young man's mocking expression, the old liar really wanted to yell, "You're a F***king true dragon. The two holes you make can break the Yin and change the water." Therefore, there was nothing wrong with the old man's geomancy. But the old liar really couldn't bring himself to do that. As the saying goes, don't slap a smiling person and don't praise a man who slaps his face. All right, cut the crap. Let's go upstairs and jump. You said it before, love sauce jump, oil sauce jump. As Chen Guang said that, he grabbed the back of the old liar's collar. The old liar didn't understand, but maybe he was pretending not to. He struggled to get away but couldn't, shouting, "What do you mean? I don't understand what you're saying." The warm-hearted diving enthusiast explained, "What Mr. Chen said is that if he jumps, you have to jump too." The manager finally understood that his hotel had been targeted by a swindler. Remembering how he almost fell for his trick, he broke out in cold sweat. If he really told the boss about this, he would lose at least a few $100,000. If it was found out in the future, people might think that he was in cahoots with the old liar. He also said angrily, "That's right. Aren't you a real person? You can't go back on your words." The old liar hurriedly shouted, "I won't jump. I won't jump even if you beat me to death. I can't do it." "Oh, right. I also said that I can bark like a dog for the whole night." Chen Guang deliberately scared him. "That won't do. If you can't do it, I can help you. Come, don't be afraid. It'll be over in just a blink of an eye. Do you know the difference in sound effects between jumping from the second floor and from the 10th floor?" The manager saw that the old liar was scared to the point where his whole body was trembling and his face was pale. He had heard this old joke from Chen Guang before, so he chimed in, "That's right. Jumping from a second floor is dong. Jumping from the 10th floor is dong. It'll be quick, it won't hurt, and you'll be reincarnated in an instant." The old liar immediately burst into tears. "I'm begging you to let me go, for the sake of my old bones. It's really not easy for me. I didn't come here to cheat money on purpose. It's just that my 80-year-old mother is seriously ill, and I need money for her treatment. That good-for-nothing son of mine also has cancer. I can't do anything about it." Chen Guang silently took off a watch from his wrist. Wang Guobo Tao Fino series, about 60,000 yuan each. How sick is your family member that you can't afford it? You have to show off in front of the real person, my friend. If you really need money, would you buy such an expensive watch? With that, Chen Guang simply put the old liar on his shoulder. This was going to be a scene. The old liar thought that he was going to die for sure, so he hugged his head and scurried around like a rat, struggling with all his might. His face was full of tears and snot, and his crying was so tragic that anyone who heard it would be sad. Spare me, I beg you. I won't dare to do it again. I really won't dare to do it again. As he cried and shouted, crystal clear, snot dripped down from the tip of his nose, swaying left and right like an old swing that could break at any time. It was simply a killing machine. Chen Guang had sharp eyes. Seeing that the situation was not good, he quickly threw him to the ground. All right. I was just scaring you. You don't deserve to die. The old liar acted as if he had received an amnesty from the emperor. He took a few deep breaths to calm down and kowtowed to Chen Guang and the manager while apologizing. After all, he was old and Chen Guang did not smell any blood on him, so he did not bother to torture him anymore. It was about time. After waiting for another 2 to 3 minutes, the old liar calmed down. Only then did the manager let the security guard help him up. After making a ruckus for a long time, Chen Guang was also a little bored. He said to the crowd, "All right, it's the middle of the night. Let's not disturb the people upstairs. We've been tossing and turning for long enough. Let's go back to where we should rest." The crowd dispersed one after another. Chen Guang also prepared to go upstairs. The hotel manager had already called the police. The old liar did not have to die, but if he was caught cheating and sent to the police station, he would not have a good ending. Mr. Chun. Unexpectedly, just as Chen Guang turned around and was about to leave, the old liar called out to him from who knows where. Chen Guang turned around. "What? Is there anything else?" The old liar shrunk his neck and seemed to be a little hesitant. But after thinking about it, he said, "Mr. Chun, I have something to say, but I don't know if I should say it." Chen Guang, "Then don't say it." Shameless old man. You want to call me MMP? When I was a flamer, you hadn't even learned how to use a smartphone yet. But I still want to say it. All right. Say it. I promise I won't beat you to death. The old liar swallowed his saliva and stole a few glances at Chen Guang. Then he said, "Although I've really only learned a little bit of the way of the Book of Changes, and I do speak without thinking about many things, but, Mr. Chun, the murderous aura on your face is too strong. This is also the reason why I was so scared out of my wits just now. Although this old man is a swindler, I've been in the pugilistic world for so many years and can be considered to have seen some of the world. I've been through wind, rain, and water. Usually, there really isn't anyone who can scare me like this." Chen Guang's interest was piqued. It seemed that this guy whom he had exposed on the spot had some real skills. How could his murderous aura not be strong? That killer named Fox should be being cleaned up by the people from the General Administration of Order right now. And then? Chen Guang asked with a smile. The old liar seemed to be startled by his gaze. He shrunk back and said, "Of course, it's not a good thing for a person to have a strong, murderous aura. According to what I've learned, this means that you'll soon have a sign of great misfortune." The manager reached out to smack him on the head. "Look at the situation now, and you're still trying to lie to Mr. Chun. Do you think that buying 2 protective talismans from you will turn misfortune into blessing?" The old liar hurriedly defended himself. "I wouldn't dare. I can really understand a little." Chen Guang waved his hand. "Sigh, don't bother about him. Let him speak. I say, old liar, how big is the sign of big breast that you're talking about?" As he said that, he was laughing in his heart. This old liar had only scratched the surface. Of course, there was a murderous aura and a sign of great misfortune, but it was definitely not his. It was those from those killer organizations. He saw the bra. Oh no, it was a sign of misfortune, but it was someone else's. Instead, the old liar was asked by Chen Guang. He pondered for a moment, then reached out with both hands to hold it up. "So big." Chen Guang shook his head. No. This is too big. I like it between B and C. It doesn't look good if it's too big, and there's no elasticity." After saying that, he left. He did not want to bother with this old liar who had picked up crooked tricks. After Guang had walked far away, the old liar looked at the manager beside him with a blank look. Young man, why is there a sign of great misfortune divided into B and C? Is the language of the foreigners so closely integrated with our traditional culture now? There's elasticity in the sign of great misfortune? Mr. Chun, are you saying that this ominous sign can be big or small? The manager's mouth was wide open. It took him a long time to understand what he meant. He sighed. Old liar. No wonder you can't fool anyone. You have to keep up with the times. Even when he was sent to the police station, the old liar still did not understand what the manager meant by keeping up with the times. He knew about the Olympics, but he did not understand enough about the things that young people these days. Sigh, it's time for me to retire. I'm old and useless. Sitting quietly in the detention center, the old liar looked at the moonlight outside the bars and thought to himself. Chapter 11:51. After going upstairs, Chun Guang wanted to sleep, but after lying in bed for a long time, he couldn't fall asleep. He found a very embarrassing thing. He couldn't involve Chu Zijin and the others, but the other people in this hotel were also innocent. If the person who targeted him used a light weapon, it would be fine. But what if someone really shamelessly took out a big pipe from a distance and fired it at the building? What if he was asleep and didn't notice it? With these things in mind, Chun Guang tossed and turned, unable to fall asleep. He felt that he should probably buy an RV and sleep alone in the RV every day to feel at ease. He first took out his mobile phone and sent a WeChat message to Fong Tianyu. Fong Tianyu, help me contact an RV seller in China and get me two. One for Yinjing and one for the other 5 capitals. Then he didn't care whether Fong Tianyu replied or not. He got up and went downstairs again. Previously, he tricked Chu Zijin into going out for a night jog, but this time he really had to go out and relax. As he walked through the forest path, he suddenly felt a slight vibration at his waist. Chun Guang touched his waist and felt something. Only then did he remember that he had taken Fox's communicator with him and forgot to throw it to the people from the Guangdong General Administration to clean up the mess. He picked it up and looked at it. The simplest LCD screen showed the word honey badger, indicating that it was a message from the honey badger. Chun Guang was puzzled. This person should know that Fox was dead. Why did he still contact the communicator at this time? Was he not afraid of being tracked and exposing his whereabouts? With such doubts, the skilled and courageous Chun Guang answered the signal. Fox is dead, right? From the inside came the voice of the honey badger. Just now, Chun Guang heard him talking with Fox from afar. They were the same person. Yes, he is dead. Chun Guang answered crisply. Why? Do you want to avenge him? The honey badger was silent for about 5 seconds before denying. No, I want to follow Fox's will and stay out of this matter. The thickness of the other party's skin made Chun Guang gasp in amazement. He was obviously admitting defeat, but he could still pull out such high-sounding words like he was inheriting someone else's will. From the looks of it, these assassin organizations were not stupid. They were not so stubborn and knew to hide when they could not afford to offend them. But this was not what he wanted. He had even prepared the RV to create opportunities for all of you so that you would obediently come and die one by one. It was not appropriate for all of you to be so terrified. You're giving up just like that? That's $100 million. It's not in line with your principles to give up so easily. Once you succeed, your organization will not have to worry about food and clothing for at least 3 years, right? Mr. Chun, you really know how to joke. If I didn't know better, I would think that you're a salesman. Chun Guang laughed. You also know how to joke, so I'll chat with you more lightheartedly. Fox is your partner, right? He just died in my hands not long ago. If I were you, I would be furious, but I don't feel any anger from your tone at all. Mr. Chun, I also want to be angry, but it doesn't help. Foxes are the best killers among us higher animals. I believe in his judgment. He must have felt extremely desperate to say such a thing. He even asked me to remind our friendly organization that your ability is beyond our imagination. Chun Guang's eyes turned. That's right. If you only send people to deal with me one by one like this time, of course, you're seeking your own death. But I can give you a chance. Mr. Chun, don't tease me. I've already given up. I'm calling this number now to apologize to you and to swear that I will never participate again, so that you can rest assured. Chun Guang tried to persuade him. Let me finish. You can choose a location. Anywhere is fine, even if it is the great desert of Africa. You can unite all the forces that you can and prepare whatever you want. Any big weapon is fine. Heavy weapons don't matter. Rocket launchers or nuclear warheads are no problem. I swear, I'll only come alone. The badger obviously thought he was joking. No, no, no. Don't be in a hurry to refuse. You'd better call more people, the more the better. I'll give you a chance to use all your means to kill me. Are you sure you're not tempted at all? Chen Guang was like a devil tempting him to commit a crime. Even if the other party really got a missile, he was not afraid at all. If you have the ability, you can blow me up. If I can't die in an atomic furnace, a nuclear warhead is no different. Ever since the last time he jumped off a building and became Chen Guangchan, he had become extremely arrogant. He finally realized that not only did he have an immortal body, but even if his body was completely destroyed to the energy state, he would still be an elemental creature, the earth-paced bomber. He would still have an invincible body that could slowly recover. As long as I don't implicate others, what's there to be afraid of? Fortunately, aerospace technology was not developed enough. Otherwise, Chun Guang felt that he would not die even if he hit the sun. Mr. Chun, I've already said this much to you. I know you're testing me, but even if you ask me 10,000 times, I'll give you the same answer. We've already given up. Fox has already paid the price with his life. Please let us go goodbye. Also, the second brother in Africa is not me. It's the hyena. Poor honey badger. Even though he was the leader of an internationally famous advanced animal organization, he was still confused by Chun Guang's unconventional way of talking. He really could not continue the conversation, so he quickly hung up. Less than 2 seconds after the honey badger hung up, Chun Guang saw sparks on the special communicator in his hand, and then there was a burst of thick smoke. It was obvious that someone had activated the self-destruct program remotely. That honey badger must be afraid that I'll call him again. He's afraid that I might be tempted by what I said. Forget it, I'll let them be. He found a random tree outside and laid down for the whole night. Early in the morning, he went straight to the filming site. Halfway there, he found a roadside stall and ordered 7 steamers of soup dumplings and 8 big bowls of porridge. He ate happily. No one would believe it if he said it. Not only did a billionaire fail to live a life of luxury, but he also ended up eating at roadside stalls with the sky as his blanket and the ground as his seat. As he chewed on the kimchi in his mouth, Chen Guang recalled the viral video of Xiao Tsong eating at a roadside stall some time ago. Everyone was stunned. They rushed up to Xiao Tsong and asked, "Oh my God, are you Chong Xiao Tsong? Does a rich person like you also need to eat?" At that time, Xiao Tsong in the video had his mouth wide open. He was completely stunned by the shocking question from the passerby. Chen Guang felt that he was too weak. If it were him, he would definitely answer that way. If rich people don't eat, do they eat **T? While he was leisurely complaining in his heart, he received a call. It was from Wu Miaowan. He did not know what had happened. "What's the matter?" Wu Miaowan was not in a good mood. "I have bad news here. I just received it, but I don't know if I should tell you." "Just say it. I'm not afraid of bad news now." Last night, Higher Animals, Shadow, and the Z organization jointly issued a statement saying that they will completely withdraw from the operation to kill you. Anything that happens in the future will have nothing to do with them. Isn't that a good thing? But not long ago, at 7 o'clock sharp in the morning, your bounty increased again. By how much? Chen Guang's eyes lit up slightly. Wu Miaowan said, $10 million. Master Guang rolled his eyes. TSK, I was wondering how much it would be. $10 million is nothing. It's gone with a fart. No, no, no. This was only the first time it rose. 3 minutes later, it rose again. This time, it's $90 million. Chen Guang's eyes narrowed slightly. This is a little interesting, but there's nothing to be surprised about. For those assassin organizations, $100 million is actually enough for them to take the risk. The difference between 200 million and 100 million isn't that big. But at 7:10, which is 5 minutes ago, your bounty suddenly shot up by a whole 2 times. It should be a fourth force that has intervened. The total amount now is $400 million. Chen Guang was speechless. It seemed like it was going from a quantitative change to a qualitative change. He finally looked straight at it. Wu Miaowan also became more serious, not daring to joke with him. Director, I know you're not afraid of these things, but Chen Guang took a deep breath. But what? But the last additional bounty is different from the previous $200 million. Other than targeting you, your family is included as well. The price is clearly marked according to your blood relationship. The entire bounty has changed from just you to a list of 31 people. What? Chen Guang's good mood was instantly shattered. F*CK. A $200 million bounty targeting his entire family. Adding on the previous $200 million, the total amount was $400 million. His head was probably the most valuable since the birth of the US dollar. You don't have to worry too much. We've already verified the list and candidates as soon as we receive the news. These 31 people are all guarded by our Guangdong headquarters 24/7. Because of the special circumstances, there are another 100 or so people from the major sects in the Bureau. They're all top-notch experts to ensure that nothing goes wrong. Wu Miaowan comforted him. Chen Guang nodded. Thank you for your trouble. Please don't make any mistakes. Wu Miaowan patted her chest. Don't worry. Speaking of which, this stupid net is really annoying. We can't get any information at all. What do you plan to do now? Although Chen Guang was furious, he was not that afraid with the Glorious Shield's advanced preparations. He believed in the methods of internal force martial artists, but the situation had become more serious. His family might not be able to live like ordinary people for a while. This was very annoying. The most annoying thing was the secretive nature of the dark net. No matter how many guesses he had, he still could not determine which forces were involved. He really wanted to drop the matter in front of him and deal with this mess. But he only had 1 more hour to record high. My God, as long as he finished recording these 2 hours of scenes related to him, he could go back and not care about anything else. Besides, even if he turned around and left now, where would he go to find people all over the world? Even if he really got a private jet to be on standby 24/7, it would take him at least 10 days to fly all over the world. Moreover, people like American Airlines, Japan's financial group, or Sanshin Group would not be stupid enough to wait in an obvious place after doing something bad. God knows where they were hiding. What if he put a bounty on someone else? What a joke. How is he going to compete with these multinational corporations that were worth tens of billions of US dollars? For the first time, Chen Guang felt the shamelessness of the power of capital. Although he had a fierce tiger in his heart, he had no way to bite it. After calling his family again, and especially after scolding his father, Chen Guang waited outside the recording studio with a pained expression. His father could not help but be angry. He was such a free and easy person. Now that his mother was healthy and his family was not short of money, his life was even more comfortable. Today, he would go fishing at the fish farm in the county town. Tomorrow, he would call his friends to play cards at the tea house for the whole afternoon. The day after that, he would call 7 or 8 people to drive here, and they're happily. It was indescribably comfortable. Now, they couldn't go anywhere. Their whole family couldn't even gather together, so they were sent to different places to hide like thieves. Knowing that they were protecting him, he did not want to cause trouble for them. However, as an ordinary person, he suddenly became so uncomfortable. Anyone would feel like they were under house arrest, but he still had to thank them. However, Chen Guoli was not completely unreasonable. After scolding Chen Guang enough, he began to worry about his safety. Brat, why don't you come back too? You're so paranoid. It's fine if we're old, but you're still young. Don't let anything happen to you. Feng Rong, who was at the side, also grabbed the microphone nervously. Your dad is right. You can earn money anytime. Listen to Mom. Hurry up and come back. Lie low for a while. We didn't know who you offended before. You spent hundreds of millions to find a killer. Finally, because of his own matters, his parents were disturbed. Chen Guang felt very uncomfortable. Mom, Dad, you really don't have to worry about me. I'm worried about you now. Don't go out recklessly. You have to cooperate with the soldiers and my friends. We understand, but you, Chun Guang retorted, your son is now the world's #1 expert. Even if the reward is several times higher, it's fine. I can't explain it clearly to you. Besides, we can't hide forever, can we? Without an explanation or a way to deal with it, the money has already been taken out. You won't give up until you see the coffin. There must be an end. Otherwise, this matter will not end. So, you must pay attention to your own safety. Leave the rest to me. Chun Guoli and Feng Rong had long known that their son was not ordinary. However, they only knew superficially about him. Now that he had grown up, his wings had hardened, and he had become even more stubborn. It seemed that there was no better choice than to believe in him now. Xin Qin's voice came through the microphone again. Uncle, Annie, Chief Chun is not bragging. You must take care of yourselves. That will be the greatest help you can give him. All right, it seems like that's the only way. On the other side, the spokesperson of China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs finally appeared on the stage. For the first time, he brought up the shady things on the dark web. This time, it was probably the most overbearing declaration by China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs since the founding of the country. We are warning some people and some forces. What you've done has crossed the line. If you don't restrain yourself, you will bear the consequences. Chapter 1152. The spokesperson of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs was making an urgent statement on the news station when Chun Guang's phone rang again. As expected, it was Old Master Jean. When Chun Guang saw the name on the screen, he knew what Old Master Jean was going to say to him. As expected, after he picked up the call, he was basically telling him not to worry too much. Although he had resigned, his rank was still there. Putting his name on the deep web and offering such a bounty on a high-level official of Huaxia was simply challenging the dignity of the entire Huaxia. They could not allow this to happen. Chun Guang did not know when he had been promoted from a deputy minister to a minister. He only understood after listening to Old Master Jin's explanation. It was just like how some of the old bureau chiefs in his hometown had retired. When they reached a certain age, they would lose their ability to work due to illness or other reasons. However, they had not reached the legal retirement age yet. What should they do? Then they would be assigned to some high-level units that did not need to be responsible for specific affairs. They would be given an empty title and enjoy the benefits of the same rank. However, they would not need to continue working, such as the party school or some association. Chun Guang had resigned and left without any hesitation. However, Old Master Jean did not want to let him go just like that. Therefore, without his consent, they created a unit called the Central Research Institute of Martial Arts, or the Institute of Martial Arts for short. They put him as the dean, and his administrative rank did not drop. It was just that Chun Guang had not been in charge before, and he was not sure of money. He did not need the salary of an ape. Old Master Jean did not tell him about it, and he was not interested in it. Now that things had come to this, Old Master Jean brought up this matter to reassure him. However, Old Master Jean was a big mouth and told the truth about the Institute of Martial Arts. It turned out that this research institute, which claimed to be on the same level as the Chinese Academy of Sciences, only had him, the dean. However, this was not important anymore. It was obvious that the deep web, the world's major assassin organizations, and those ignorant people who put a bounty on Chun Guang's head were provoking the dignity of the entire country. They were trying to become the enemy of the country. The old master and Chun Guang guaranteed that they would start to strictly check the customs at every international airport. Whoever dared to come would not be let off. In addition, the old master also asked for an imperial sword from Chun Guang so that the government could borrow people from the Guangding General Administration, such as the Xinqing sect. It was not necessary to borrow senior disciples above the level of bone strength. Even if they could only borrow martial artists of muscle strength, it would be enough. The main purpose was to place them at the customs and other entry and exit points to help check people. You don't know this, but every time we want to ask your 2 deputy bureau chief for people, These two little girls always say the same thing, asking us to ask you. We get a headache. You really can't blame me for this. I didn't ask them to disobey orders. I also told them more than once that things are different now and they can't be like before. But you also know that people who practice martial arts in the past are used to being free and undisciplined. Even if they're more restrained now, they will always be more rebellious than ordinary people. But this time, I will definitely make it clear to them. I promise to cooperate fully and not let anything go wrong. Chen Guang immediately promised. Before hanging up the phone, old Master Jean said, "Don't let your guard down. You also know that our national border is so long, and it will be hard to guard against others if they really want to come in. In short, there will be good wine when friends come, and there will be knives and guns when people come. We will set up an inescapable net, and we will be able to get something. As time goes by, those reckless killers will suffer heavy losses, and they will know to retreat." Chen Guang nodded and replied, "I know. It won't be a problem for me, but I'm worried about my family. I will go back to Beijing in the afternoon. Grandpa Jean, can you help me find a private plane? I'm afraid I will have to take over from guest to host." "Private plane? What about the crew?" Chen Guang thought for a while. "I don't need the crew. I can do it alone. You know that I know how to fly a plane." He did not intend to implicate others. If there really was a crazy assassin organization that shot his plane down with that kind of bomb, it would be a big joke. To him, the most carefree thing is to be a lone ranger. As the saying goes, the tree wants peace, but the wind will not stop. Chen Guang wants to be a good person, but others do not give him a chance. After waiting for about half an hour, Chu Zijin finally arrived with the filming crew on time. Seeing that Chen Guang was already waiting for her, Chu Zijin walked up to him in surprise. "I thought you were going to sleep in for a while. Why are you suddenly so dedicated today?" "I have something to do, and I have to hurry up. I have to leave after filming the show. Film my scenes first, and you can change the plan." Chen Guang was not in the mood to joke with Chu Zijin, but he could not show his anxiety in front of others. So, he could only force himself to calm down. Chu Zijin frowned slightly. According to the original plan, they had to film all the scenes that did not require Chen Guang to appear in the morning, and then focus on his scenes. At least, that was the previous arrangement, and it was also to make it more convenient for unified planning. Now, they had to change the script again. Must it be like this? Chu Zijin questioned Chen Guang's request for the first time. "Yesterday, I first sent out the recording script, and the guests were prepared according to the previous order. We suddenly changed the plan. Indeed, the guests who participated in the filming of the show had been temporarily changed by Chen Guang once. They pinched their noses and endured it. Now that they changed it again, they were afraid that everyone would have an opinion." Chen Guang nodded. "Communicate with them more. This time, there's really no other way. If they really have an opinion, then give them more labor fees." Chen Guang also knew that he would always bring a lot of trouble to others when he came up with an idea. If he encountered this kind of thing, he would definitely be angry, but he always had his own reasons. "Sai, okay." Chu Zijin could only summon the program's director team and held a meeting for about 5 minutes. She asked everyone to temporarily change the recording plan again. As for Chen Guang, he once again separated from the crowd and hid under a big tree in the distance. It looked like he was enjoying the shade, but in fact, he was keeping a distance from everyone. About 20 minutes later, the new recording plan was officially released. The assistants took the newly printed script and found the guests backstage who were preparing to put on makeup. This time, it was a complete uproar. Originally, the guests more or less had some opinions about Chen Guang, but because of the generous remuneration, coupled with the fact that Chen Guang was now famous, and the fact that several domestic guests were directly given political tasks by the higher-ups, they decided to pinch their noses and just let it go. But now it seemed that not only did Chen Guang not restrain himself, but he also became even more aggressive. Even a clay figurine had 3 points of anger, not to mention these burly men who usually spent most of their time on fitness training and honing their professional skills. Usually, they would be thankful if they did not bully others. When had they ever been wronged? Moreover, they had accumulated a lot of resentment. Several world-famous strongmen invited from overseas were the first to explode. The weightlifting team and a few well-known domestic athletes contacted the other side. After weighing the pros and cons, they felt that this matter could not be tolerated. The crowd pushed away the assistant who came over to the podium and did not even look for Chu Zijin. Instead, they rushed straight out of the recording studio and went straight to Chen Guang, who was enjoying the shade outside. The recording crew could not stop them at all. Hearing the noise coming from afar, Chen Guang put down the revision materials in his hands and sat up straight. He began to get nervous again. It was not because of these people that he was nervous, but because he had to guard against a big guy who would suddenly fly over at this time. "Mr. Chun, you are really too much." Before the crowd got close, the bald strong man who was walking in the front loudly protested from afar. This bald strong man had just won the International Strongman Challenge last month. He was very popular, so it was not surprising that he had the worst temper. Beside him were also the top few winners of the challenge or the previous champions. The other domestic guests walking behind the crowd were more restrained, but their attitudes were not very friendly. "How am I too much?" Chen Guang asked, even though he already knew the answer. "We came all the way to China to participate in your show so that we can compete with you on the same stage. But we do not feel the slightest bit of respect from you. You have changed the recording plan again and again, making us look forward to competing with you on the same stage fall through. We are all real athletes, and we are also participating in competitive events, not actors. We never act. But now, we feel that you are treating us like clowns. You're trying to be like those fake shows, using post-production methods to produce a variety show. This will cause great damage to our personal reputation." This baldy looked big and burly, but his words were clear and logical. Chen Guang was almost convinced by the other party, but he couldn't tell others about his difficulties. How could he tell them that the reason why he did not follow the original plan to record with you at the same time was because there was a $400 million bounty on his head? Others would definitely go crazy and run away with their money. At this time, how could Chen Guang make people believe that even if a big guy really flew over, as long as he was on guard, he could still ensure everyone's safety? Others would only think that he was crazy and run away with their money. This was the generation gap. It was just like how caterpillars never knew that the world was three-dimensional, and the caterpillar's world was always just a flat surface. It was not my intention to cause such a big problem for you. I apologize to all of you here. Since Chen Guang was the one to write, he felt embarrassed and took the initiative to apologize. Unexpectedly, the bald man was unreasonable. "I do not accept your apology. Actually, I wanted to leave last night, but my brother is a racing enthusiast. He insisted that I ask Mr. Chun for an autograph. Otherwise, I would have left a long time ago." Chen Guang continued to be polite. Yes, it's all my fault. But now, you have changed the recording plan again. The script that we worked so hard to memorize last night has changed again. Do you know how angry and unwilling we were to cooperate with you in this act? Your actions are a complete violation of our contract and the spirit of sportsmanship. We are not recording this show anymore. I don't want to pay either. The bald man was really angry. He was giving up on the $100,000 appearance fee that he had promised. "That, Mr. Chun, if there's nothing else, we will leave first. The team is still waiting for us to go back for training. Actually, Mr. Chun, you have so many skills. Why do you have to compete in strength? Isn't that what people like you should be doing? You don't know how disgusted we are. You're a big shot after all. Why would you fake such a small thing? I'm sorry." On the other side, the captain of the national weightlifting team, as the representative of the national guests, also stood up to speak. Chu Zijin, who was beside him, saw that the show was going to be canceled and was burning with anxiety. "Hey, everyone calm down. Calm down. It's not what you think. Chen Guang did not ask you to fake it." Chen Guang was stunned at first. He did not know how to react. These people thought that he had asked them to fake it? What a joke. "Hey, everyone, wait a minute. Didn't you see the video online?" Chu Zijin could not stop anyone, but Chen Guang could. Baldy turned around. "Mr. Chun, I saw it a few days ago. But no matter how strong your hands are, it doesn't mean that you are a real Hercules. It's like pulling a truck. You need all the muscles in your body, from your arms to your shoulders to your legs. Baldy was referring to the video of Chen Guang catching the bullet. Chen Guang scratched his head. What about the new video that came out last night? You didn't see it? Baldy and the others looked at each other. The Chinese weightlifting team members reacted quickly. They took out their phones and started scrolling through Weibo. What new video is out this time? 2 minutes later, the guests finally saw Chen Guang jumping off the building last night with a wave of curses, F*CK and SH*T. The video with the highest repost rate was indeed the diving enthusiast video. This guy was very professional. After he went back, he even added his own commentary to the video. The rest of the crew members also looked at their phones and gasped. They had gone to bed early last night and did not know how lively it was on the internet. What kind of leg is that? Oh my God, there's such a big hole in the ground. Is this real? Of course it's real. We saw this hotel when we passed by it. I call my friend to confirm it. My friend is staying in this hotel. What he said is real. He was there last night too. After a long time, when everyone had calmed down, Chen Guang patted his leg. Now do you still think that I am asking you to fake it? Those of you who are good at physics, can you calculate how much force I used to support myself when I landed? How many tons? The impact of landing from such a high altitude was definitely more than 3 or 4 tons. Okay. Everyone calm down, right? Anyway, thank you for your cooperation. Although according to the shooting plan, you can't compete with me, it's good to be able to watch it live. I can promise you that I will not fake it, okay? Also, I will announce another decision. Everyone's labor fee will be doubled. That's right. Rich people can do whatever they want. Chen Guang did not want to cause any more trouble. He just wanted to finish the job and leave. An hour later, amidst the thunderous applause, Chen Guang performed a magnificent feat of pulling a train with his shoulders for 300 meters. What was more terrifying was that when the train picked up speed, he used both hands to support the front of the train and stepped on the side of the aisle to stop the train. Before Chen Guang had time to enjoy the applause, he received a phone call that made his face change. Chapter 1153. Perhaps what he was afraid of had come true. This phone call made his emotions explode. He was ready to take action in the afternoon, but the killer organization's reaction was faster than he had imagined. Or perhaps those who had originally come for him had retreated after seeing the feedback from the higher animals, the Shadow, and the Z organization. They were planning to return in defeat, but were tempted by the additional 200 million. They were pleasantly surprised to find that there was a second option that was easier and more feasible, and the return was equally generous. They couldn't afford to offend Chen Guang, but they could find a pushover. As a result, these people immediately changed their target and went straight to Lalai County. If not for Chen Guang, the Guangdong General Administration, and the Chinese military's preparations, they would have fallen into their trap. But this still made him restless. Chu Zijin had just finished filming Chen Guang's scenes and was delighted to see that the results were beyond her expectations. However, she saw Chen Guang's face change after receiving a phone call. He asked, "What's wrong? What happened?" Chen Guang waved his hand. "It's nothing. There's a situation at home. I'll leave the rest to you. I'm afraid I have to go first." Seeing that he didn't want to elaborate, Chu Zijin didn't ask further. She nodded. "Okay, then you must take care of yourself. You don't have to worry about me. I won't let you down." With such a scene in hand, Chu Zijin felt that even if a husky led the production team to produce the show would still be successful, let alone herself. Chen Guang patted her shoulder. "I'm relieved to hear that. Don't save money. Currently, Tianguang Media has about 800 million in cash, right? We don't need to hype up negative news, but we can advertise like a normal variety show. Don't be afraid of spending money, and don't always expect others to pay for it. Spend freely where you need to spend. If the first 3 episodes failed, then so be it. But with my scenes in the 4th episode, we can only succeed. I approve you to invest another 100 million in publicity." Chu Zijin's expression changed slightly. "But this will affect our profits. Chen Guang shook his head. I've already said that I have another motive for participating in the 4th episode. You don't have to worry about profits, and you don't have to be afraid of spending money. I only have one request, and that is that the program's ratings and influence must not lose to my previous programs. As for the publicity strategy, you should be able to come up with some ideas. If you really can't think of anything, I'll give you a suggestion. I'll take the lead and say something along the lines of Almighty Superman has returned to the variety world. That's about it. After that, Chen Guang didn't waste any time. He said goodbye to the others and drove straight to Beijing Airport. He planned to make a trip back to Lalai County. Sigh. Although his parents were unharmed, they must have been frightened, right? It turned out that the call he had just received was from Xianqin. Just 5 minutes ago, the originally calm and peaceful Lalai County suddenly had a major incident. The famous Chun family villa had directly exploded. At that time, there had been a loud noise, and then the Chun family villa was covered in thick smoke. When the busybodies approached to take a look, they saw that the originally beautiful bungalow had almost been razed to the ground. Some of Chun Guoli's friends who were close to him immediately called to ask, and only relaxed when they heard that there was no one at home. Chen Guoli was angry and anxious. Although they didn't live in the villa, they had just bought a new TV and lived in a new bungalow for less than 3 months, and now it was all gone. If it weren't for his parents listening to Chen Guang and obediently moving to another place to hide, he was afraid that both of them would have died. But he couldn't tell anyone about this. He could only repeatedly say that he had probably forgotten to turn off the gas when he went out, and the gas exploded. That was all. Although others didn't really believe it, they could only exclaim that the gas in your house was so explosive. With the memory of the countless dead appliances, gypsum wires, and TV walls, Chen Guoli called Chen Guang worriedly and angrily, saying that he was safe and at the same time scolding him. It seemed that this time, Chen Guang had provoked a terrible person. It was better to let the young man come back and hide first. If he kept being beaten up like this outside, he wouldn't feel at ease. When he received a call from his father, Chen Guang was driving halfway, and there was still half an hour's drive from Yanjing Airport. He could only agree to Chen Guoli's words, saying that he would be home tonight and asking them to pay more attention to safety. Chen Guang hung up the phone with a livid face. He really felt that his previous decision to join the killer organization was right and wise. I can't be lenient to these guys. They're a group of flies that can't be gotten rid of, but they always hide in the dark and disregard human life for money. They pretend to be human, but they do the most shady business in the world. What's more hateful is that I clearly have unparalleled abilities, but I just can't do anything to those people. No matter how strong I am, I'm just one person. God knows how many killer organizations there are in the world, and God knows where they are hiding. Even if the General Administration of Guangding sends people to search and hunt them all over the world, they might not be able to do it. Chen Guang turned his head to look at the heavenly Holy Grail beside him and secretly clenched his teeth. I really hope that the heavenly Holy Grail gives me the ability to teleport. Damn it. I'll appear in front of whoever causes trouble and kill them with a whoosh. You guys want money? I'll let you guys know sooner or later that you need to be alive to spend money. F***CK. That's a good idea, but it's a pity that I can't do it now. Just as this thought popped up in his mind, Liuli's voice, which he hadn't heard for a long time, suddenly rang out in his mind. It seemed that she had recovered from the aftereffects of using her strength to save Chen Guang from jumping off a building. Chen Guang asked, "Then what level do I need to be at?" In the most original function of the Heavenly Holy Grail, if you want to truly teleport, it's equivalent to coming into contact with the rules of time and space. In addition, your control over these rules must be strong enough to be able to use them in your real world. In that case, you need to be at least at the 7th level. You're still far from that. Chen Guang's face was filled with tears. Do you really need to be of such a high level? But you can still settle for the next best thing. Why do you have to aim for absolute teleportation right from the start? For example, the 6th level, Guang Mo Tian, is enough to grant you an ability. You can view it as absolute speed. Of course, this absolute speed doesn't exceed the speed of light that you understand. In your real world, the speed of light is 300,000 kilometers per second, right? Yes, that's right. In that case, in the Guang Mo Tion's world in the cup, you can obtain a movement speed that is infinitely close to the speed of light, which is about 299,999 kilometers per second. That should be enough to satisfy your needs. Chen Guang pinched his fingers and calculated. This was the logic, but he didn't quite understand the scientific principle behind this kind of movement method that Liuli was talking about. Can I use my legs to run close to the speed of light? Will my legs be burnt to ashes? You're thinking too much. That's already a power that belongs to gods, and it's no longer within the scope of mortals. In short, it's where your heart is and where your actions are, without using your legs. It sounds very profound. Do you use your legs to fly? But even if it's friction with the air, no. Even if I fly in a universe and have friction with the particles of the universe, I can still burn up, right? Scram. Why do you have so many questions? Chen Guang was very interested in this sublight speed movement method. As long as he had this method, mere assassins could be squashed to death in a matter of minutes. But as a good youth who grew up under the influence of science in the new era, even if he had already encountered countless unscientific things in his life, he still habitually wanted to use scientific principles to understand these things. This was a subconscious instinct. Sai, you can't blame me for this. I really can't understand it. This is very normal. Being scolded by Liuli, Chen Guang wasn't angry at all. Don't ask me. In any case, I don't know why. I only know that you can do it. Chen Guang pondered in his heart. Is it because I'm the earth-paced exploder and I can restore my body to the energy state when I move and then move forward using a principle similar to the movement of light? Seeing that he was analyzing with great interest, Liuli couldn't be bothered to care about him. Maybe, Chen Guang continued, then there's a new problem. This kind of high-speed movement will definitely require a certain amount of preparation time, and in the process of moving, it can't be easily retracted and released. Of course, there's another possibility, which is to use divine power to wrap my entire body, and the divine power that wraps me has a certain property of breaking through space. So, in the process of high-speed movement, there won't be any friction with the outside world. In addition, this divine power that wraps me may just be a thin film covering my body. Then, relative to the outside world, I'm moving at sublight speed, but relative to the divine power that wraps me, I'm still, so there won't be any friction. That's also possible. Chen Guang came to a conclusion. Liuli, your so-called absolute speed doesn't seem to be suitable for actual combat. Liuli, hey, you guessed it this time. What the hell is going on in your head? Chen Guang smiled proudly. What's wrong with that? I've read a lot of online novels, and I've also taken philosophy classes in university. My mathematics isn't bad, and I understand logic. Liuli, it's not that I'm lecturing you, but read more books, enrich yourself, and enrich your level of education. That way, you'll be able to have the ability to analyze logically. Are you mocking this empress for being brainless? Chen Guang shook his head repeatedly. No, I definitely didn't mean that. I'm just telling you. The so-called logical ability is actually to infer the unknown based on what you already know. As long as the theory is tenable, then even if this unknown possibility can't be verified in a short period of time, it can still be considered as exploring a certain possibility. Even if this may be proven to be wrong in the end, there's no harm in the process of logical thinking itself. All right, shut up, stinking brat. This empress isn't interested in what you're saying. You're pretending to be a quack in front of a real god, saying some pretentious words. Chen Guang chuckled. Although you're a real god, Liuli, you have a huge shortcoming. You attribute a lot of things that I can't understand in a short period of time to the divine power that you've long been accustomed to, or the power of the heavenly Holy Grail, which limits your thinking. In Yunqing, Liuli rolled her eyes and didn't want to talk to him. However, Chen Guang was interested. Just like in our country, the whole world says that the language of Huaxia is the most difficult to learn, but people like us who grew up in Huaxia don't think it's difficult at all. It's just a matter of course, and we've learned it unconsciously. What does this have to do with this, Empress? Of course it has something to do with this. When Huaxia people learn the language of Huaxia, they think it's sloppy and normal, and there's nothing special about it. But let a foreign language master learn the language of Huaxia from a different point of view. Maybe he can see things that we, who are involved in the situation, can't see. There's a saying that the best teachers of Huaxia are not Huaxia people. While Qingguang was talking, Liuli suddenly became silent. Qingguang didn't see that Liuli's eyes became extraordinarily bright at this moment. She seemed to have an epiphany. I see, Liuli whispered to herself in a low voice that no one could hear. Seeing that he had convinced her, Qingguang became complacent again. Do you think I'm very reasonable? So, although you're an emperor, maybe you don't know the meaning of a god better than me. Because in your eyes, everything seems to be a matter of course, but I look at these problems with a curious mind. What you said is very reasonable, but I have to tell you another bad news. Qingguang asked, what? Your world in the cup is coming. What? Your world in the one-line heavenly cup is coming. Qingguang was driving and had a blank look on his face. Why? I haven't been out of the world in the cup for a long time. I'm in a hurry. Why at this time? Oh, by the way, shouldn't you inform me 24 hours in advance? Will it appear randomly in these 24 hours? Liuli shook her head. No, immediately. Besides, have you not been in the world in the cup for so long that you almost forget the rule of the appearance of the world in the cup? Qingguang was very puzzled. What rule? Liuli sneered. The rule of the world in the cup is that there is no rule. What you said is so reasonable that I can't refute it. Qingguang was complaining. The next moment, his spirit entered Yunqing. Standing in front of Liuli, Qingguang looked at the deer fruit that was getting taller and taller in the distance, and then looked at Liuli in front of him with a helpless expression. While I'm also very curious about what kind of big move the Heavenly Holy Grail can make this time. Thinking about it carefully, the Heavenly Holy Grail had not moved for a long time. This even made him a little uncomfortable. When he was in the world of the spiritual Heavenly Cup for the first time, it came every few days, which made him have to be on high alert at all times. Otherwise, there was the risk of becoming the strongest anal fistula king in history. Chapter 1154. Flying in the blood-red space-time tunnel. Qingguang looked up and down at the exceptionally unique color of the tunnel wall. He didn't understand why it became like this. He wanted to get rid of the assassin organization, but this didn't mean that he liked to kill. Wait, when he was talking to the fox, his killing intent was very heavy. Since today, when he heard that the newly built villa at home had been blown up, there was indeed a ball of fire in his heart. Could it be that I was completely seen through by the Heavenly Holy Grail? Perhaps I didn't even realize it, but a valve in the depths of my heart was opened? Impossible. I don't think there's anything wrong with me. I'm obviously a very normal person, okay? But thinking like this inexplicable world of slaughter was clearly in front of him. Judging by the process, it seemed that he was unknowingly walking towards the end. Then, what would this world in the cup be like? Qingguang clenched his fists. Logically speaking, this should be the world in the line of Heaven Cup. Then, what awaited him should be a space with a diameter ranging from 100 meters to a few hundred meters. Now that the cup was soaked in bamboo grass, then, would it be a dense jungle of slaughter or a deep sea full of corals and mermaids? Forget it, this isn't important. Anyway, since I've already called it by this name, I'll see blood when I enter. It's best if it can give me some monsters like in Heroes of Might and Magic to fight. Otherwise, it'll be too disgusting. Although I've been rough with people in the realm of true martial, I've always done it with a purpose. The people in the realm of true martial are not good people. They've died for 20 years, and then they've become good men again. It doesn't matter if I treat them like NPCs. Finally, with a pa sound, Qingguang finally landed in this so-called world of slaughter. When he raised his head, his mouth was wide open in astonishment, and his face was full of disbelief. This world of slaughter was not a deep sea, nor was there a lake, nor was it a plain, but a huge, ancient Roman Colosseum. It was not the ancient Roman ruins that often appeared on TV. It was much larger than that. With Chen Guang's sense of distance as a historical racing god, he could accurately measure the distance with his naked eye. This Colosseum had a diameter of 1 kilometer. It was a huge, ancient Roman Colosseum. Apart from that, Chen Guang's ears were buzzing as if there were 10,000 flies circling around him. This scene reminded him of the time when he went to the home stadium of the NFL team, the New York Yankees, after he finished the premiere of Women in North America. He accompanied the big shots of the fighting world to tour around, and he once went to the home stadium of the NFL team. Chen Guang's hearing was stronger than that of an ordinary person. Even though he was far away, Chen Guang could hear every word clearly amidst the noise. It was nothing more than killing him, butchering him, or something else with the same meaning. But after listening for half a minute, Chen Guang realized that something was wrong. It sounded extremely noisy, but after shouting for so long, it seemed like they were repeating the same lines over and over again. Chen Guang squinted his eyes and looked carefully. Damn, the Celestial Grail had habitually cut corners again. Every inch of the Colosseum's circular arena looked lifelike, and it was quite textured to the touch. It was countless times more realistic than a top 3D game with the most powerful GTX 1080 graphics card. It was countless times more realistic than the holographic projection online games he had read in the online novels he had read before. Well, this was real. He grabbed a handful of soil from the ground and pinched it in his hand. He felt the warm touch and smelled it. The quality of the Celestial Grail this time was very high. It was super realistic. Although it could not be compared to the Sea of Time, it was countless times better than the acting world. However, looking at the spectator stands outside the arena, the more realistic the texture of the arena was, the more exaggerated the cutting corners on the spectator stands was. The spectators were all pasted with a textured texture. Each and every one of them was made of paper. The faces on the spectator stand were mosaics that could not even be seen clearly. This reminded Chen Guang of the PS1 football game he had played many years ago. Well, this might be a little more tragic. It should be like the Minecraft in the 8-bit console. The dubbing of the spectators was also very bleak. Chen Guang scratched his head. He did not understand what was going on. From the size of the Colosseum, the Celestial Grail this time should be of a higher level. However, in order to more efficiently use the power of the Holy Grail on the content related to the mission, the spectator stands that could only help to create the atmosphere were greatly simplified. They did not even prepare many lines. Chen Guang did not mind this. It was better to look fake. Otherwise, when he started a massacre, he would feel very uncomfortable in front of so many real people. Since the slaughtering world was an ancient Roman Colosseum, the content of the mission this time was not difficult to guess. The name of the Celestial Grail should be similar to the Colosseum that was taught in the textbooks. Using the previous Celestial Grail that he had participated in, he should be thrown into the Colosseum like the ancient gladiators. He must kill the beasts or other gladiators that were thrown in round after round. After experiencing the cruelest life and death challenge in the world, he would regain his freedom and be free. There might be a slight difference, but it should not be too far off. Sigh. It was a pity that the killing ability that was trained in this way was useless. Could I train myself to be cold-blooded? But this was meaningless. Everyone had no choice. Either others died or they died. They would become cold-blooded. There was no need to train. While thinking this, Chen Guang walked to the edge of the Colosseum and looked at the mosaic paper people up close. Gradually, as time passed, he realized that the situation was a little strange. It had been almost 10 minutes since he came in. He had walked around the Colosseum with his hands behind his back, but there was still no movement from the real mission. In the past, every time he came in, the mission would quickly fall on his head. This was the first time he had waited for 10 minutes without any movement. His ears were still buzzing. Chen Guang scratched his head and said to himself, "Strange, what the hell? I can't just wait here for nothing, right? Although time in the Celestial Grail is not valuable, doesn't it take energy to maintain this Colosseum?" He scratched his head and suddenly shouted, F***CK. It was not that he found something strange, but that he was shocked by the feeling of his fingers being empty. Spreading his hand out, Chen Guang rubbed his bald head. The smooth sensation that he hadn't felt in a long time appeared again, but he did not miss it. Where's my hair? It turned out that when he was scratching his head, he realized that his beautiful hair was gone again. This was very unscientific and unreasonable. Wasn't his image and body in the Celestial Grail a perfect copy of his body in the outside world? Why did he lose his hair for no reason? This unlucky Celestial Grail could not bear to see the old man be a little more handsome, so it had to turn me into a monk? F***CK. Chen Guang could not help but curse. Then, his expression changed drastically. He found that his voice had changed too. It was normal just now, but inexplicably, when he spoke, it became someone else's voice. It sounded quite manly and magnetic, but Chen Guang knew that it was definitely not him. He was completely at a loss this time. God knows what the heavenly Holy Grail was up to. It had inexplicably tampered with his image and voice, and it did not even give him an explanation. The last head-on blow happened 5 minutes later. He walked in front of a pool of water and looked down to see his own face in the pool of water. Who is this? Why am I so handsome? I'm so handsome that my face is bleeding. I must have undergone a genetic mutation. All right, it's not like I can't accept being bald. After all, it's like this in the Celestial Grail. Silently looking at this bald, handsome guy who looked 30% like Wentworth Miller, 30% like Van Diesel, 30% like Bei Shuai, and 10% like Guida. Oh no, Jason Statham. Chen Guang could not help but sigh in his heart at the wonders of the Creator. Looking at this face from different angles, he could see the shadow of a foreign, bald, handsome guy from every angle. But after combining them together, he looked like a proper Huaxiao person. This is unbelievable. Did the Holy Grail sense my obsession to become handsome? So it gave me a free face shaping function that I often use when playing online games? Forget it, I'll just change my face. At least I'm becoming handsome, not ugly. As he thought of this, he returned to his old habits. He unconsciously reached his hand to touch his bald head. His movements were very smooth and natural. If others saw it, they would only think that he had been bald for a long time. Chen Guang, who was having a good time touching his head, suddenly realized this and hurriedly removed his hand. Actually, although the bald Beckham was also very handsome, Chen Guang still preferred the blonde youth from the 1998 World Cup in France. After that, he looked at his palm again and then looked down at the ground. With my many years of walking experience, my eyeballs are now 5 centimeters away from the ground. In other words, my height has become 185 meters. Forget it, I've lost my hair, changed my face, changed my voice, and changed my body and limbs. I've completely become a different person. There's nothing unacceptable about it. I'll just treat it as creating a character for myself when playing online games. As expected of the big-hearted Chen Guang, he could still quickly calm down in this kind of situation. Then the problem is, even if I enter an online game now, and my character has already been created, what about my mission? I've waited for almost 20 minutes, and there's still no movement. Don't mess with me. You can't expect me to stand here stupidly until the end of time, right? Just as he was cursing in his heart, the long-awaited electronic notification of the heavenly Holy Grail finally sounded in his mind. All of this was strange. Although the tone of this electronic voice was completely the same as before, as a world-class acting master, he subconsciously felt that there was emotion in this voice. That's right, there was emotion. The cadence was still the same stiff 1 + 1 = 2 that he used to type out with a calculator, but his intuition told him that this electronic voice was different from before. The slaughtering world is about to be activated. Savior, please prepare. Chen Guang quietly replied. I've been preparing for almost half an hour. Player is currently loading. Loading completion 1%, 2%. Chen Guang continued to calmly shrug his shoulders. Oh, you're pretty good at playing. The NPC's name has even been upgraded to player. What a sinister intention. At first, he thought that this might be the heavenly Holy Grail, purposely making the virtual character a player in order to forcibly create the psychological pressure and authenticity of massacring in the slaughtering world. However, when the loading progress reached 66%, the smile on his face suddenly froze. There seemed to be something wrong. If it was an NPC, then it should have existed in this slaughtering world from the very beginning. Otherwise, based on the heavenly Holy Grail's past behavior, it should have appeared in front of him directly and charged toward him while roaring. It shouldn't have waited for him, the Savior, to arrive first before the Holy Grail slowly loaded it. What's going on? Chun Guang muttered to himself, trying to communicate with the spirit of the Holy Grail. But the electronic voice ignored him and continued to count the percentage again and again. Could it be that this so-called player is a real person? That's impossible. There's no reason for it to be like this. This is my cup, and I'm the only master of the heavenly Holy Grail. How could there be someone else who could enter? He comforted himself, but very quickly he refuted himself. He finally remembered something. In a sense, it seemed that the entire world that he was in, the entire universe, could be considered as already in the cup. First of all, the real world was one of the special worlds in the world within the cup. Now, the real world and his real world had already merged to a certain extent. This meant that everything in the real world had already been contaminated with a part of the characteristics of the world within the cup. So the meaning of this slaughtering world seemed to be pulling in those people in the real world who had already been contaminated with the characteristics of the world within the cup. Isn't this a bit too much? How should I explain to the others who have been implicated? Also, do I really have to kill all these living people? I have no enmity with them, and they are neither relatives nor friends. I really can't do it. With such thoughts in mind, that player finally completed the loading of the slaughtering world. Player loading complete. In 10 minutes, the slaughtering mission will begin. All players, please quickly adjust your state and prepare. Good luck. The electronic voice spoke again. Chun Guang was dumbfounded as he looked at the flickering lights in the distance with silhouettes appearing in every corner of the bestial battle arena. When those silhouettes gradually dimmed down, the silhouettes that appeared before him were men, women, old, and young. But these people all had one thing in common. They were all wearing black leather tights. On these tights, there were 2 bands of light extending from their toes to their necks. This is real. Holding on his face, Chun Guang was dumbfounded. What is this spirit of the Holy Grail doing? I've already seen through your scheme, Holy Grail. You so-called players are all NPCs. As Chun Guang's mind frantically wandered, several thoughts popped into his mind as he analyzed all sorts of possibilities. Stop dreaming. I have already seen through the Holy Grail's tricks. You so-called players are NPCs. While he was analyzing, he suddenly realized another situation in shock. Previously, when he was in the world in the cup, his mind would be sealed. Although his thoughts would not be affected, his emotions would not be affected. Even if he repeated the same thing millions of times, his emotions would not be affected. But this time, it was not the case. He was actually angry at the Holy Grail just now. Chun Guang understood. This meant that my mind was not sealed. This meant that the things that happened in this world of slaughter could indeed affect my mind. This is bad. If this is really the case, even if these are really NPCs, if I am forced by the Holy Grail to kill batch after batch, sooner or later I will not be able to hold on. I will confuse reality and illusion and sink into this bloody world, unable to extricate myself. Right? Just as he was thinking about it, the players who had been motionless suddenly moved. Ah! A shrill scream came from the mouth of a girl not far from Chun Guang. It even temporarily suppressed the repeated cheers from the stands in Chun Guang's ears. Chun Guang turned his head to look at the girl. She was about 1.6 meters tall, had medium long hair, very fair skin, and a petite figure. Her small face looked quite cute. She probably had the appearance of a well-behaved girl that would be liked by many people in the same class. At this moment, she was holding her hands, looking around in fear and panic. Just from her scattered pupils, one could see how lost and terrified she was. Chen Guang turned his head to look in another direction, observing everyone with his keen senses. He was still pondering whether these people were alive or just NPCs. This was an important question to him. Oh my God, what? What is this situation? Where is this? It was a slim girl in a business suit. Massacre quest? What is a massacre quest? I was watching the NBA at home. I saw an old man in his 30s beating up the strongest 175 player in the world. Why did I come here? For no reason. What the hell is going on? It was a fat man with a big belly. He was holding the essential popcorn in his hand. A few meters away from him, a white-haired old man with crutches squatted down on the ground. The old man looked around blankly and then wailed, "What's going on? What's wrong with me? What kind of evil god did I bump into? God bless me. God bless me. God bless me. Qin Xiong bless me. What's going on?" However, not everyone was in such a panic. Some people were frowning as they watched everything from the sidelines. They seemed especially wise and profound, but their eyes revealed lingering nervousness and curiosity. Looking at these players who were seemingly dragged in by force, Chen Guang kept reminding himself, keep pretending, keep pretending. The Holy Grail is getting more and more cunning. It's imitated the reactions of these NPCs so well that it's almost as if it's real. There's the panicking faction, and then there's the calm faction. I don't believe it. His gaze shifted, but he noticed something else. Those who were calm seemed to be too calm. Also, there were indeed people in this world who could quickly calm down after suddenly being involved in an unusual situation. They could remain calm even if Mount Tai collapsed in front of them. They could then quickly sort out the situation in a completely strange situation and make the right response. However, shouldn't such people be rare? There should only be one among hundreds of people, right? But why was it that almost half of the 90 people belonged to the calm faction? Hey, Holy Grail. The distribution of people between the calm faction and the panicking faction isn't very scientific. It's very fake, okay? I've already seen through your disguise. Furthermore, you can't really be the dragons and phoenixes among humans that were carefully selected to join this slaughtering realm. Otherwise, you'd be half dragon and phoenix, while the other half were normal people who would act like headless flies when encountering a situation. The difference would be too great. They're starting to gather together. Without any prior signs, the semi-calm faction approached the same direction through the exchange of glances without communicating with each other at all. Although the movement of these players seemed to be silent, there was still Chen Guang who was calmer than everyone else here. With just a glance, he could clearly see the movement of these people. This clearly didn't make sense. If these players were really normal people, how could they form such a tacit understanding out of nowhere? Chen Guang slowly sat down and pretended to be a normal person, but he was secretly paying attention to the final direction of the calm faction. It was a tall, golden-haired man, more than 2 meters tall. His body looked very strong, but he wasn't overly fat. The most conspicuous thing about him was his fluffy golden hair, like that of a lion. This golden-haired man was very imposing. He didn't panic like the others, and there wasn't even a trace of curiosity in his eyes. Instead, he was examining everything in the Colosseum with a scrutinizing gaze. Through this person's expression, Chen Guang vaguely had an illusion. Damn, it looks like I'm the owner of this territory. Are you kidding me? Acting tough on my territory? Did you get my permission? My world in the cup doesn't allow such a powerful NPC. Suddenly, the golden-haired man seemed to sense Chen Guang's gaze. He turned his head and looked at Chen Guang from afar. Chen Guang frowned. Of course, he wouldn't be afraid, so he stared back at him with the same scrutinizing gaze. Their eyes met, and the air stagnated at this moment. There was a strong sense of provocation. This NPC is very irrational. Chen Guang thought to himself. The golden-haired man suddenly laughed, then turned his gaze in another direction. However, the moment he moved his eyes away, Chen Guang felt that there was a murderous look in this guy's eyes. He wanted to kill him. However, not all the calm faction members were moving in the direction of the golden-haired man. There were another 5 or 6 people in the crowd who were looking at everyone around them with vigilant eyes, as well as everything in the stands. This new discovery made Chen Guang feel very surprised. I was just in a meeting in the office. Why did I suddenly come here? What's going on? At this moment, one of the calm, middle-aged men rubbed his eyebrows and whispered to himself. Although Chen Guang was far away from him, he could hear his whisper very clearly. However, Chen Guang would not easily believe his words. It was entirely possible that the NPC deliberately said such words to mislead him under the setting of the Holy Grail. The middle-aged man turned his head, and his gaze slowly became focused and firm. He whispered to himself again, "Forget it, since I'm already here. I'll just take things as they come." Could it be that I read the Infinite-style novel Infinite Horror a few days ago, so I've really been swept into the Infinite Styles worldview? What's written in the web novel is true. That's right. It must be true. This has already become a reality. What else do I have to doubt? As the middle-aged man talked to himself, his emotions slowly became agitated. He did not know that there was a young man hundreds of meters away who could clearly hear his every whisper. After all, there was no one within a few meters of him. I can't believe that although I'm just a sales executive of a small company, I actually have the life of a novel's protagonist. Since I've been chosen, then I can only grit my teeth and endure, right? After all, every novel's protagonist has to go through hardships and dangers to become the man who laughs in the end. Thanks to his calm personality and, of course, thanks to the big heart that he had just finished reading an Infinite-style novel, his performance was really special compared to others. After making his decision, the man named Lu Chong turned his attention to the others next to him. Perhaps he was forcing himself to calm down, like the protagonist of every novel, and strive to choose the right alliance in the first Infinite-style mission to improve his chances of survival. He stared at a calm person who was moving in the direction of the blonde man and slowly walked over. "Friend, did you find anything? My name is Lu Chong. Hello." The man named Lu Chong tried to make his tone sound very calm. Then, as he spoke, he approached the calm person, and at the same time, reached out to shake hands with the other party. The strong would always find ways to form alliances with the strong, especially in this unfamiliar environment. It had to be said that Lu Chong made a seemingly correct choice. The calm man who was called suddenly stopped in his tracks and turned to look at him, slightly curious. Lu Chong was getting closer and closer. Chen Guang thought that the two of them would shake hands. Unexpectedly, the calm man suddenly spat out a sentence. "Get lost, lowly mortal." As he said that, he opened his palm, spread his fingers, and aimed his palm at Lu Chong. Lu Chong looked confused. "What do you mean? If you don't want to talk, then don't talk. What's wrong with you?" Chen Guang was even more puzzled. This NPC was a little unprofessional, wasn't he? Didn't you expose yourself? Also, with this posture, are you going to release a thunder palm? But there's nothing. Don't you feel embarrassed? The air between Lu Chong and the calm man stagnated for a few seconds. The man's mouth twitched slightly, and he retracted his hand. He looked down and said to himself, "My divine power has been suppressed." He whispered to himself, and then ignored Lu Chong. Instead, he looked at the blonde man in the distance. The blonde man met his eyes and nodded. The calm man sighed. "Sigh, idiot." Lu Chong ignored him. Since the other party was an idiot, there was naturally no need to cooperate. He cursed and turned to leave. "Chi." As soon as Lu Chong's voice fell, an arm stretched straight out of his chest. This palm was stained with blood. About 2 seconds later, he began to scream at the top of his lungs. The calm man threw Lu Chong to the ground with a little force. Then he shook his hand, and the blood on the back of his hand and the leather tights slid off. Then he looked down coldly at Lu Chong, who was rolling on the ground and bleeding profusely. "I've said it before, lowly mortal. I don't need my divine power to crush you to death." In the distance, Chen Guang's pupils shrank. Just now, when this man's arm pierced Lu Chong's body from the back, it was as if he had stabbed his hand into tofu. This calm man had terrifying power and physical strength. In addition, the moment he made his move, he even felt a familiar power from him. It was very similar to when Luli revealed her divine emperor true body. This was true divine power. Lowly mortal? Divine power? Could it be? These calm people were actually gods. Gods like Luli. What the hell was this situation? What the hell was this slaughter world trying to do? They were playing too big. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.